Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Rambo! 59! Blue 58! Red Polly! 58! Red Polly!
Red right, 24 double Puma on one.
Happy Friday.
What is happening?
Well, it's off to a good day. It's a better day than Al Michaels is having.
Yeah, Al Michaels had a rough night last night.
Yeah, he did.
He's getting up there, and people are not fans of Al Michaels anymore.
It's always weird when you have to get to this point of one of your favorites, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always, athlete, doesn't matter what profession
it's
you
sad
are.
Because, I mean, forever he is Do You Believe in Miracles? I watched that in my youth, but that was 1980.
It was a long time ago.
When you were like 21, youth? Or
Somebody had a picture of him.
It was 9, you jackass.
almost double digits, I mean.
Somebody had him in a picture in the Reds dugout
I'm
for the
gonna
big
make you
Reds
eat
machine.
every cupcake I brought in today.
Shove this down your throat.
It is. I will also say this. I think Herb Street's good. Obviously, he's good at his job. There's an aspect of chemistry that I really do enjoy on broadcasts that one just lacks, I feel like.
Oh, it's dull as a knife, man. There's nothing there.
Like a Buck, I'm not the biggest Troy Aikman guy. Like Troy Aikman to me doesn't say a ton of stuff that I'm like, wow, my mind's blown. Like,
sure.
But he's fine. I don't have any issues with him. He's not my number one
Buck
color
knows
analyst.
how to push his buttons,
But
though,
dude, him
it's
and Buck start
hilarious.
going at it, and he was on a rant the other night, and he was like, Buck was basically insinuating that he's on edibles. He's like, what's up with you tonight? You're laughing, you're giggling over there. It was just they were like, I don't know, the sense of humor that they have and the chemistry that they have make up for it. And so if Herb Street and Al Michaels had that, I think it would mask Al Michaels being half asleep, but they clearly don't have that.
Well, it's tough, right? You have to build chemistry sometimes. Sometimes you have it instantly, and sometimes you got to build it. And I think for them, it was not there instantly.
No.
But what's Herb Street supposed to do? He's got so many different things. He's on this plane every other day, flying somewhere.
Yes, he is.
And Michaels is 78, and this clearly was my last cash-out bag grab.
Yeah.
Is what I think it was, because NBC was like, hey, we have Tirico here. We kind of want to use him now. And so Amazon came to Al Michaels and said, hey, you're Al Michaels. Here's $10 million a year. And he said, okay.
I mean, you're not saying no to $10 million a year. You're just not. I don't care how old you are. You're not saying no to that.
Well, you famously always say, if I get even just a couple million, you'll never hear from me again. And I always...
If I were Al Michaels, I would have retired 15 years ago.
Yeah, but what if I would have told you can make an additional $40 million for the rest of your family?
They're fine. They're going to be okay.
Okay.
Go get a job. Okay. How about you hold up your end of the bargain here?
I think it's way easier to say that than actually say no to it.
Here's $5 million for a kid. There you go. If you can't sustain yourself on that, that's on you, buddy. You're screwed up.
$5 million. I just saw a house listing on Redfin. $1.8 million. Milwaukee, Oregon. And
That's
I went,
right,
oh
baby.
My God, dude.
Let's go.
Wow.
Mustangs.
Hey, we almost
communities now in Milwaukee.
They got
No,
the max now, dude.
No.
The house prices are shooting through the roof.
no gated community. We almost moved to Milwaukee when we moved in our house over a year ago. I really like Milwaukee. I like being at that city kind of vibe, but I'm a little in-betweenish, but I'm a little more city. I like that. We just didn't find a house that fit what we needed.
Yeah, the tough part is it's like nobody can afford to live in Portland anymore. And so there's like, where are the fringes going to keep getting pushed out? And Milwaukee was like candidate number one. And I like the amount of money that I sold my house in Milwaukee for still boggles my mind.
Really?
Because that house was not worth that much money.
Yeah.
But it was 5 minutes from Sellwood, and you're 10 minutes
Supply
from downtown,
demand.
and you're,
Location.
and it was like, all right, you really? Okay. You want to pay that for that? That's like a 900 square foot, 2-bedroom house, but have fun if that's what you want to pay.
What is the area that people like covet but can't afford to live in around here, you think?
I think Northeast Portland and Southeast Portland primarily.
Northeast Portland?
Yeah, I think there's some really nice neighborhoods in Northeast Portland, like around Grant High School and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's an awesome neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's Laurelhurst, isn't it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, but you're going, every house in that neighborhood's over $1 million at this point.
Well, and they're all old.
Over by Reed College and stuff.
Yeah, Reed College is great. That's the Eastmoreland neighborhood.
I did look up a house. I don't know. I'm not even looking for houses, but I go on Redfin all the time out of boredom. And there was a house that was pretty sweet in Eastmo, and it was $700K. And I'm like,
There's a lot
That's
of
it for Eastmoreland?
no, I actually, I was like, God, I wish I made more.
That's not bad at all.
I know.
there's a lot of renovations going on of older homes up by University of Portland up on the bluff.
I've always loved that area too.
That's really nice.
North
up
Portland.
there.
I like that area. Okay, all right, great conversation.
There you go.
I wish we could all afford to live in those neighborhoods.
Oh.
And my drive into work wouldn't be a half hour every day. Although I love my neighborhood because it's quiet. There's an aspect of I'm worried when we have kids that I'm going to want to move because there's not a ton of stuff around us. Like there's not like a park you can walk your kids to, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering how that's going to evolve as our kids get older. But as of now, I love it. Nobody makes a peep. I got a lot of old neighbors. Nobody makes any noise. It's wonderful.
I did note that, Swag. When I went to his house, we recorded a Jonathan Smith interview, and it was my first time at his house. And I went inside, we did the interview, and I basically left. And I noted that when I drove out, I didn't see a soul.
Nobody.
Not a human being at all. Not a car driving in, not a car driving out.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, you live with all the olds, I think.
There's both sides of me, the neighbors are north of 80.
Oh, it's well, that can be good and bad. It's
Sure.
good because they're
Now,
quiet,
have
they
you
leave you
met
alone.
them?
Oh, they're wonderful. They're nice. We
okay.
say hi. They're great. They're no problems at all.
Those houses are going to be for sale soon.
Well, that's the other thing in the neighborhood. On our block, we've already had like 4 houses come up for sale in the last year.
What's that theme music they play when somebody passes away? Dun, 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 dun.
Driving up the value of the neighborhood. I love it. Keep throwing them on the market, baby. Keep welcoming young couples in. So it's going to start to get louder, but I love having old neighbors because I'm an old man now. We have to go to bed early. I don't want kids out playing on the street at like 9 o'clock at night in the summer. Like, hey, shut up. I'm trying to sleep here, right?
Oh, you're going to be cranky when you're old. You're going to be the worst. Let me tell you what bothered me this weekend. Ruined my whole weekend. The ball landed in my yard again.
It did. Although I did have a ball controversy with one of my neighbors. One of the dog's balls went into their yard. Have not thrown it back yet. And we're going on like a week now. I think they're just holding on to the ball.
My neighbor took my basketball. They will not give me my basketball back.
It's a weird flex.
Yeah, it is a weird flex. And I don't know how to feel about it. It's been a couple months now, and it was quite the controversy when it happened originally, but I've just kind of moved on to Seattle, and
You're just moving on to the next game.
we
right?
can't think about last week. We got to move on to the next week. But yeah, they still have my basketball.
We'll go find a new basketball. We'll go buy a new one.
We asked for it 2 different times.
You actually asked for it back.
Dude, it's a good outdoor basketball. Yeah, it wasn't like it was super old and beat up. It was really nice, and it bounced over. They say it went under their deck. And I'm not calling them liars because they don't have any young kids. They're kind of older, but...
Do they not have the ability to get it out from underneath the deck? How does it get under the deck, but they can't get it out from under the deck?
I have no clue how any of that works. They won't even allow me back there. They have like 5 security cameras in their backyard, and their backyard is...
Ooh, they're intense.
300 square feet. I mean, it's not very big. And I'm like, why do you have all these cameras?
They keep creeps like you out of their backyard crawling under their deck.
I have a neighbor across the street who has 10 cameras, he told me, on his house.
It's a lot of cameras.
And then the one next to me has 5 in their backyard. And is there something about the neighborhood I don't know? We haven't had any problems.
You near a prison or something? Worried about escapees?
I live in Damascus.
Well, that's where I'd put a prison if I was building one.
There's a mule right across the street every day.
Really good point. It's a good spot for a prison.
I mean, yeah.
A lot of land out there.
I don't think we have anything that's wrong with it, but there's a lot of cameras going on. So
that to me reeks of people who read a lot of stories about downtown Portland and think and you're like, yeah, we're in Damascus, man. That's not really going to affect us. We're a long ways away from all of that.
I didn't want to say that, but it's kind of my read is like you just watch your news outlet that gets you angry and you just assume that's happening everywhere. So you're freaking out.
Yeah, the city's on fire.
Right. Oh, the fire's going to be in Damascus.
No, you'll be okay.
Do you think Foster Moreau was happy about Al Michaels trending, so it took a little heat off him dropping an easy touchdown?
No, I don't think he's sleeping all week.
Yeah, he was the rah-rah guy before their last drive, by the way.
How do you not catch that?
I don't know. And that was the best pass he threw all night.
It was. I texted
It
Derek
was
Carr
perfect.
sucks, and then he laid a perfect pass
It was
out.
perfect.
And he just dropped it. I thought it was a weird glitch on my TV.
Yeah, it felt like a glitch in a video game. Like you're playing Madden and the character like got stuck trying to reach for the football, and you're like, what happened? Damn it! And you're like, he was open in the back of the end zone.
And you watch the replay, and the
Yeah.
arms are just like doing a repeated motion, like they wouldn't go up to catch the ball.
Dude, that was good touch. Little corner out, back pile on. The Jags screwed up the coverage, wide open. We would have had overtime, but no.
I'm kind of glad we didn't.
I am too.
I mean, I had a Jags bet, so I was happy, but like I also didn't want to keep watching that game.
I'm like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough Saints on my TV. I don't like this team.
They were booing them the entire game.
That team, like, I know they came back. That team sucks. They're not fun to watch. Their defense is okay, and their offense is just most of the time awful.
But then they ripped off the game when they tied it up. It was like Carr 3, boom, 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 and you're like, where'd that come from?
That's soft coverage. I thought that was just Jacksonville laying way back, and they're just taking the underneath stuff for 10 to 15 yards. I don't know.
I don't know.
Are we all trying to fire Doug Peterson today for going for it on 4th down?
Well, who won? You don't fire the coach after he wins.
That's right. It's touche. Touche. It worked.
Maybe Lance.
Wait, no, it didn't work. But then they gave up a touchdown. But then it's okay. They
You know,
still won.
DeBoer also got stuffed on 4th down, but we're not talking about that all week,
nobody-
were we?
At the one.
At the one, yeah.
1 yard line. Yeah, stonewalled.
Hey, Dan, win a game.
Win a game.
Win a game.
Win a game, Dan. He's winless in his career. Somebody's saying that the 80-year-old neighbor is trying to throw the ball back, but they just can't get it over the fence. Now I'm picturing that.
Yeah, just keeps hitting the fence and bounce. Oh, damn it. I'll try tomorrow. Swag, how do old people talk? Oh, okay. I guess they can't talk.
No, that's what happens. Their teeth fall out. They can't say anything.
Swag brought us cupcakes.
We have a whole flight of cupcakes.
Dirt is not happy about this.
Yeah, why do we have a flight of cupcakes?
Well, we need to, one.
Like, I know I can eat a little cup.
I have a theory.
I
I'll
can
let him
fit
finish.
a little cupcake in my mouth.
Well, one.
That's a great sentence. I'll let Swag
A
I
lot
have
of
a
that
theory.
today. It's
Okay.
part of the reason.
Okay. All right.
But no, we're on YouTube now, so let's give our listeners, our viewers, as it were,
No. It's
more
starting.
reason to stick around and,
It's
and get
starting.
what they want.
Here it is. This
Give
was
them what they want.
this was my fear.
Is this what they want? Is this what they want?
I love that we're on YouTube now. YouTube.com/1080 The Fan.
Uh-huh.
Like, subscribe, rate, review.
Visual stunts, absolutely. Let's go.
This was my fear. We're gonna become Colin. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, let's
Everybody in your
diagram.
car, look at this. I can't see it. I'm not on YouTube. I'm driving.
Should we do film breakdowns with Greg Cosell? Get him on. So here's what happened on this route in the Oregon-Washington game. You see the safety here does this, and then the corner does this, and that's why the pass wasn't completed.
No, I went to go get cupcakes, and then so I got the big giant ones, and then they had these other prepackaged ones right there, and so it was just a little thought bubble. Whatever, they were on sale. Let's go. Let's have a whole flight of cupcakes. It was no more thought out than that.
Here's my theory. Yes, that's his thought process. Deep down, though, Fat Swag was like, we're getting loosey-goosey on a Friday.
Let's go. It's a football Friday.
I think this is a lot of Fat Swag having a moment. He's like, I don't get out very often, but when I do, I cut a rug. So I'm going to eat 3 different sides. Look at him smiling. He knows it.
He
He's
knows
like,
it.
Fat Swag Day. He
Yeah.
just doesn't want to say it. And
It'll
that's
be a
okay.
Fat Swag weekend. We're road
Really?
tripping. Linfield is at the University of Puget Sound tomorrow.
Oh, the boys.
And so
The nephew against the alma mater?
Exactly.
Wow.
So
Who
both,
do you root for?
Linfield.
Oh, I'm rooting for Linfield.
You gotta root for
We didn't
Linfield.
root for UPS's football team when we went to school there. They sucked. We were good at cross country and softball and swimming. That's what we excelled at.
Carlos Boozer got in trouble recently. He did an interview, and his kids are really good. He's got twins that are like highly touted recruits, some of the best in their class. And he was asked, like, hey, what if they choose North Carolina? And he goes, I'm rocking a UNC hat. And they were like, what? He's like, my kids
family.
take
It's
precedent
family.
over
Yeah,
my
it's-
alma mater.
D1 basketball players and football players are going to be employees before much longer.
It's okay. Smudge has a gift coming for the old baby shower. We'll start dirt early on the Beaver fandom.
Yeah, it's gonna get burned. That'll be the poop rag. I'll just use that to wipe up the brown mess that comes.
Yeah, well, in bad instances, you'll remember who was there for you and who wasn't. Oregon State was there to clean up that mess, weren't they?
Right.
Lunch pail you, baby.
OSU giving you skid marks all over again.
Built not bought.
Yeah. It's a football Friday. We got Daniel Gallen. He covers Penn State for Lions 24/7. It's the biggest college football game of the weekend. My question simply to him, we'll dive into the game, is prove it. Is kind of my message to, prove it, please. I'm tired of hearing about Penn State every year, and then they lose the big game, and they become the 10-2 or the 9-3 team that everybody has to label dangerous, but they don't beat the teams that matter in their conference. So we'll talk with Daniel Gallen at 7:30. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30, so get the Sprague line sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. And obviously, we have college to get to. I got a lot of NFL on my show sheet as well. This is a good weekend of NFL football I want to talk about. So let's get it going. We start local taste. The Ducks and Cougars. Where you at on a Friday? We'll talk about that next. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a new Blazers season.
The first unit, Scoot, Ant, Tease, Jeremy, D.A., is a functional unit that offensively has some real potency to it.
What should we expect from this year's team?
Even though this team's going to suck, they don't want to miss the development of some of the young players.
Talk about it and get the inside story from your home for all-day Trailblazers coverage. 1080.
In this league, we constantly have to stay nimble and adjust to changing circumstances.
The Fan.
Now, here's a quick look at Portland traffic.
Papa Murphy's changed the way you pizza. Westbound St. John's Bridge, a crash blocking one lane. Westbound I-84 west of 82nd getting first word of a crash there. That's traffic. I'm Michael Green.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
PG Long has been the Northwest flooring experts for more than 50 years, and now they are the preferred distributor of FIBO wall panels in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. In remodeling and new construction, every minute counts. FIBO's full-height wall panels come in an array of colors and design, and the system easily clicks together for a seamless look that is 100% waterproof. Take your next job to the next level with FIBO and PG Long. PG Long is more than just floors. The partner you trust, the quality you expect. Online at pglongllc.com.
Mow, dig, haul, lift. The versatile Kubota BX Series subcompact tractor does it all. Switching attachments is simple, and a smooth hydrostatic transmission makes for easy operation. The Kubota BX Series, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Hey, Total Wine & More has all your Halloween favorites at the totally lowest prices.
Economical.
Find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Meet Bruce.
Hey there.
He's a busy soccer dad who's trying hard to learn the game.
Go for the end zone.
Whoops. Luckily, other things come easy, like banking with Chase. On a tip from his banker, he set up AutoSave in the Chase mobile app. So what are you saving for, Bruce?
Father-daughter soccer camp.
Smart bankers, convenient tools. One bank with the power of both. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
AutoSave requires a Chase checking and savings account. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard to find.
Hallelujah, it's Friday, 'cause I've been working all week.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Dirt and Sprague on a Football Friday here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course now YouTube, youtube.com/1080 The Fan. You can see my sweet-ass Alaska sweatshirt that I wear once in a while.
That is a cool sweatshirt. You got a bear, a moose, an eagle, a wolf.
Oh, yeah.
Nature, baby.
When are we doing these cupcake things, by the way? I didn't have my show sheet. Cupcake eating time.
I don't know, whenever you guys want.
Well, you're trying to do one an hour?
Yeah, so we'll do one an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you need a sugar high? Maybe at like 6:45. How about we do it at the end of every hour?
Sure.
The end of every hour?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
I think you should try to
We gotta do the
handle
big one before the show's done,
big
though.
ones during Sprague in the Line, I think.
Oh, bad picks and bad bites.
Hey, we had a good week last week as a show.
Yeah, well, that's not what the texts usually say.
7-2 as a show. That's
Okay.
a pretty good week right there.
Well, I'm sure the texts will all be complimentary of us today. They always are. They're so nice.
I mean, you guys are still significantly below 500, but, you know, hey,
It's okay. Both
one
had
week
2
at a
in 1
time.
weeks.
That's right.
3-0 weekend, another 3-0 weekend. Before you know it, I'm right on Dirt's heels.
You're building it brick by brick.
This would be a devastating loss for Dirt. If I
Look,
come back and win this season, it's
That
going to
is
be
true.
devastating for him.
I just don't want to lose because I don't want to caddy. I really want to be involved in the golf round, and having one of you caddy for me would be a lot of fun. But also, the third person will also be golfing in that event, and so I'll just get to film it and enjoy it and have a good afternoon. So I'm okay finishing second. I'm just in a race and not finish in last place.
Me and Swag are right now. We're locked. It's a heat.
Things can turn around quickly for me. I'm on a heater right now, but it can change rapidly.
Sounds like Washington State's going to get Lincoln Victor back.
Yep.
And it sounds like their tight end's also going to play. Defensively, Washington State, 44 points on the scoreboard. Go back to the UCLA game. There was a pick 6 in that game, so you take 7 off the board because that's a defensive score. I don't know. Where are you at right now? It's a Friday. You're doing the pregame show. Ducks Cougars 12:30 on ABC. I'm concerned. I told the wife this because I give her my weekend schedule. I say, hey, this game's at this time. There's this game at that time. And so she can like form what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. And I'm kind of afraid that I'm going to sit down, getting back from a pumpkin patch, 12:30 kick, hostile environment. Oregon's pissed off and fired up. They're 5% more angry this week than they've ever been, according to the metrics by Oregon. And this becomes a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, we have a game already on the books of Oregon playing a team that's one-dimensional offensively, and it didn't go very well for them. That being said, I still think Washington State's a better team than Colorado, and I think Cam Ward can provide different challenges that Shedeur Sanders did not. And Shedeur Sanders, he's just not a guy that moves a ton in the pocket. He's the guy, he wants to sit in there, and if it's not there, he holds on to the football too long, and he's going to end up taking sacks. Oregon had a ton of sacks in that game. But a handful of them were cover sacks where he was holding the ball in the pocket for 4 or 5 seconds. Nothing came open. He's not moving, and boom, eventually it collapses on him. Cam Ward's not that kind of guy. He's going to run around and make plays, and he's going to extend things. I think if I'm a Cougar fan, the biggest concern I have is the way my defense is playing right now, honestly, because I have a general sense of trust in their offense is going to figure it out. Like, they're not this bad. They have talent. You mentioned some wide receivers. They're getting back healthy. I know Cam Ward can be turnover prone, and he has been the last couple of weeks, but Harbaugh is a good OC. Cam Ward's a good quarterback. They have good weapons on the outside. Like, they're going to find their groove eventually, whether it's this weekend or in the weeks to come. The problem's when you go back to that Arizona game. I mean, look how they ran the football, especially in the second half. They had 2 different guys that averaged almost 7 yards a carry. Coleman for Arizona is an absolute, like, muscle hamster, dude. That guy's massive. And he just was picking up 6-7 yards anytime he wanted to in the second half of that game when Washington State was still technically within reach. Like, that was still a ball game in the third quarter. And Arizona was just running it at will. So I like Oregon's chances. I'm genuinely excited to see how they come out and play. We've heard all week. I mean, you joke about the 5% extra. I've heard that all week at practice. They're ready to go. They're fired up. Like, let's see it. Come out and bury a team, have a nice restful second half, and then get ready to go on the road to Salt Lake City in a much stiffer challenge. But Oregon, to me, is going to win this game. It's just a matter of, is Washington State going to make it uncomfortable, and is Cam Ward going to stop turning the football over?
So one of our listeners tweeted us yesterday, Dick Burns, And he said, fun stat on Wazoo. That's the name. Dick Burns Jr.
Reading the Twitter handle.
What if his name is Richard Burns Jr., Swag? You're shaking your head over there. Dick Burns gives us a big old stat and says, Wazoo in the last 9 quarters, since they were up on Oregon State at the end of the third quarter of that game, their offense has been outscored 90-19.
Not good.
That's pretty bad.
Not good.
That's
one of the touchdowns you mentioned. One of the touchdowns they had in that stretch was a defensive touchdown. They had a pick 6 against UCLA.
Yeah, so that's like 90-12.
Yeah, not good.
But here's the other thing, because Russ said this yesterday, and I think you also probably brought it up on the show. Is like, is Washington going to beat you twice? Right, the old football cliche of you lost the big emotional game, or
last play of the game, it comes down to it, and you're just deflated.
Yeah, and I. Not that this is the same at all in any way, but I do remember like Oregon having a week going into a Stanford game where it's like, they practiced so hard. They were full contact, all pads.
Exactly.
And then they lost to Stanford, and then the murmurs out of the locker room like, maybe we shouldn't have been doing that all week.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't really care what coaches say about what their kids are doing. Gary Anderson told me Oregon State was squatting 1,000 more pounds. I had no idea what that meant, and then it meant nothing, and he quit. Like, don't care what coaches tell you about what their team is doing or not doing. It's just, let's just see what it is.
Yeah, the proof will be there on Saturday.
My thing with them is I feel like I've been pretty dismissive and disrespectful to Wazoo in some ways. I also would argue they've kind of earned it the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that game last year. Is that a symptom of an offense being able to exploit certain things in a defense? Or is that, hey, Washington State home game against a massive opponent and we got up for it? Because Oregon State has a little of this. I think they're a little better. But Washington State, Oregon State, schools like that, they just tend to get up higher for the home game against the big team coming to town.
Absolutely they do.
Versus traveling or even playing teams like Arizona at home. And so, like, I'm trying to weigh what they did last year and can they do any of that this year at Autzen versus just simply seeing the two teams and going, I think Oregon is significantly better.
Yeah, I think for Washington State, Cam Ward needs to be nearly perfect, and that's a really tough spot to put him in. To defend him a little bit the last 2 weeks, I understand why some of the turnover stuff has come out, because I imagine it's really deflating when you're a quarterback and you know, I'm not getting any help. My defense is not playing very well right now. We're not getting stops left and right. We're not running the football at all. Even when we try to, we can't. We're getting a yard per carry. I have no help offensively. And so I think as the game goes on for Cam Ward, there's that thought internally of like, dude, I got to make a play here, man. Now we're down 17-6 and the thing's getting away from us. I got to make something happen. And then I'm scrambling on 3rd and long and I try and force a ball into double coverage and it gets picked off. Like, he feels like he has to play hero football. And that's a really tough situation to put a quarterback in. So to defend him in that note. The other thing that Washington State needs, when you go back, like, remember, they had a win over Wisconsin early in the year, too. Wisconsin might end up playing for the Big Ten championship. It's, hey, that's more about the division that they're in. Sure, it gets back to what we talked about with Iowa yesterday.
Yeah.
But what was the reason they won that game? Their defense was making plays. They had the guys on the edge, and Jackson and Stone, who can get after the quarterback. They had a defensive touchdown. They forced another fumble on a strip sack. Like, those guys were making big-time plays and were difference makers. And that just hasn't really been the case the last 2 weeks. I think last week was
UCLA,
more of
I didn't think their defense actually played that poorly at UCLA. UCLA, I think, scored 25 in that game.
25, but how much of that, too, is a freshman quarterback and Dante Moore missing throw? Like, UCLA's not the most explosive offense in the world.
I hear you. I think last weekend, I mean, it was a snowball, right? Like, one bad thing happens and then another and then another, and then it's like, oh, Fafita can't stop completing passes. They're running at 7 yards a clip.
Yeah, we're down 30-6.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we see that all the time in college football, the snowball effect. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I would also argue there were probably key possessions early in that Arizona-Washington State game where the defense was like, yo, can you do anything, Cam Ward? Can you do anything offense? Now, again, missing key pieces in their passing game. But I was reading the Spokane Review Journal or Spokesman Review, whatever it is.
Sounds legit.
I mean, you can't run the football. You're not winning many games.
It's tough, man.
Point blank. And I know Washington State's never really been known as a running team, but this year feels exceptionally awful. They're not even trying to run the football. You have to have some semblance of balance. The Huskies did it last weekend.
They did.
They're not a great running team. But Dylan Johnson was averaging 5 yards a clip, and he got 100 yards himself. So you got to have balance if you want, especially good teams, really good teams. You have to have some semblance of balance if you want to be able to pull an upset.
Washington State last week had 22 carries for 35 yards as a team. That is a 1.6.
Who had the most carries?
Most carries was Cam Ward, had 8.
That's problematic to me.
They had Nakia Watson had 5 carries for no yards. He seems like a goal line guy. Longest run of the game, by the way, was Dylan Payne at a 13-yard run. That was the only run they had longer of 10 yards.
It feels like the kid who played Madden and he won the first game he played, and everyone's like, wow, he's probably good at Madden. And like the last 2 games, he's gotten his ass kicked because he just keeps doing the same plays. That's kind of how I view Washington State. They beat Oregon State, and we're like, oh! And then UCLA just destroyed them defensively, and then Arizona just housed them in their building. And it's like, yo, can you try to run at all? Like, you know your team better than any of us, but you're not even trying.
No.
It's not even an attempt to run the ball.
Last note on this, because I know we got to go.
Yeah.
For Oregon, I do want to see them get the vertical passing game going. I thought they did in the second half against Washington.
Franklin was a beast.
And it opened things up. It was a major criticism that we didn't really talk much about this week, but that I had in my notes in the first half. I thought they came out way too conservative, and it was a lot of screens and check. Like, just, dude, you got a quarterback who's played more college football than anybody. Why are we throwing little lateral screens early in the game? Open things up, take some shots. Once they did, the offense was cruising, but they were a little stagnant at times in the first half, I thought, because of that.
I got a note. I'm glad you brought that up. I have a note on my show sheet specifically about that area for Oregon I'll get to coming up at the top of the hour. But coming up next, did Jim Harbaugh cheat? But first, Swag with the sports update.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, number 9, Oregon trying to bounce back from their first loss of the season. They host the Washington State Cougars, who were embarrassed by Arizona last week. Kickoff 12:30 from Autzen Stadium. You'll hear it right here on The Fan. Our live pregame coverage from Eugene begins at 8 a.m. Ducks currently 20.5-point favorites in the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. After blowing a 15-point lead in the second half, Trevor Lawrence found Christian Kirk for a 44-yard catch-and-run touchdown, giving the Jaguars a 31-24 victory. That extends their winning streak to 4 games. Elsewhere in the NFL, Raiders ruling out quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo for this Sunday due to a back injury. They take on the Bears. In Cleveland, quarterback Deshaun Watson did throw at practice for the first time in 2 weeks. He's dealing with a rotator cuff issue. He'll be a game-time decision Sunday at the Colts. A walk-off RBI single from Ketel Marte gave the Arizona Diamondbacks their first win in the NLCS 2-1 the final. Former Hillsboro Hawk Brandon Pfaadt, along with 4 relievers, holding the Phillies to just 3 hits. Game 4 coming up this evening on 910 ESPN Portland. First pitch at 5:07. First, though, at 2:07 in Arlington, Game 5 of the ALCS. Houston evening up the series at 2 games apiece with a 10-3 win over the Rangers in Game 4. Justin Verlander opposite Jordan Montgomery on the mound. Our pregame coverage will start at 1:30 over on 910. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. On 1080 The Fan.
I'm listening to a book on Audible because I try to read, but I find myself falling asleep or just getting past a certain chapter and just like, I'm kind of done.
I can only make it so far reading.
But it's a book that there's no chance I would ever be able to read the whole thing cover to the back, right? So I got it on Audible, and it's narrated by a British man who talks kind of like this. And
Does
he
it
calls
make it more sophisticated?
ecologico, sophisticated.
Aluminium.
Like, all of these words he just says, and I'm like, I kind of want to say those words like that now.
I want to sound like you.
Why aren't we doing that more often? And I wish I could narrate this because I don't. This is such a funny, dumb topic to me that I kind of want to do it in a British accent. And I just want to be like, did Jim Harbaugh cheat or not cheat? Is he a cheater?
Yes, he is. I'm leaning in, man. What the hell?
He is a cheater.
Michigan's played nobody.
No.
Like, there's a lot of this is stupid. It's advanced scouting. It's an NCAA thing. Some of the other coaches have complained. Have you seen the video of Greg Schiano's interview at halftime?
So we got the audio. This is Rutgers, Michigan a couple weeks ago, and this was on the Big Ten Network. And Schiano at half, Harbaugh, by the way, coincidentally walks right behind him as he's basically calling it out, but he doesn't hear him. And Schiano was interviewed, and you can kind of read the tea leaves of what he's saying with this investigation now being underway.
Coach, 4 penalties for your team in the first half, some that cost you. How do you clean that up in the second half?
Well, there's some stuff going on out there, so we just got to slow it down a little bit. There's some things going on that aren't right as well, so we'll talk about how to handle it.
Does Michigan defense keeping Gavin Wimsatt in this passing game in check? How do you adjust?
Well, just got to keep playing. We're in the game. We just got to keep playing.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Schiano wanted to be like, cheater, pumpkin eater.
You sound like the guy from Ted Lasso that takes the Ussies. Wicked. That's what you sound like right now.
Well, it's supposedly a staffer, an analyst staffer with a military background. So he's probably dressing in Michigan camo, and he's just sitting in the stands with his arms folded, jotting signs, stealing down. It's not great to have a cheater. Harbaugh is clearly on an FU tour in his last year in college football of piss off NCAA. I don't care about you. He did send out a statement, Dirt. I'll read it just because that's the job. He says, I do not have any knowledge or information regarding the University of Michigan football program illegally stealing signals, nor have I directed any staff member or others to participate in an off-campus scouting assignment. Reportedly, Michigan State was so irate by this that they contemplated protesting the game, not playing the game because...
I think they don't want to play the game because they're going to lose 97-0.
That's very possible, but they also...
That would be taking the easy way out.
There's a lot of noise in the Big Ten that a lot of programs have known he's been doing this year.
Look, I would imagine this is a case where a lot of teams around college football do this. You tell me there's advanced scouts that they're trying to find stuff with signs. Like, I guarantee you this happens all over the place.
Sending staffers, though, to games? Dude, that's what this is about.
I also think part of this is a very easy, fixable thing, and that is, can anybody explain to me why we do not allow microphones in helmets of college quarterbacks?
I just saw somebody tweet this 3 days ago before this came out, and I have no answer to that.
You're not allowed to do it. So every play call has to come from the sidelines, which has to lead to signals and the posters and all the different things to relay in the information that's necessary.
Remember the Oregon curtains at Arizona State?
Yes, this has been going on forever,
They
man.
were worried about that.
Exactly.
Sign stealing.
You're worried about the booth being behind you.
The only thing I can think of is if you do it or allow it, it has to be allowed for entire Division I. And I don't know how much those things cost. And obviously for a program like Michigan, who cares? But all the other programs, in the Sun Belt and wherever,
sure.
And how many of those helmets do you actually have to buy and the system to install it? It's not just one helmet. You got all the quarterbacks. They probably have backup helmets. I would imagine for some smaller programs that are taking, 3 ass kickings to get the paychecks in the non-conference.
That's where your money's going to go now.
That's not something that, okay, you got to spend $750,000. I'm pulling a number out. I don't know how much the whole system costs.
Yeah. That would be really expensive. You could easily say capitalism, Sprague, but it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We can't just fork out 3 helmets
Yeah, but
per
it's
program.
not unilateral like the NFL where they split all that billions of dollars.
But what I'm saying is they
32
could.
ways evenly.
They could. If they really wanted to make that happen. Like, they could do so many things in college football.
Well,
They
I
could have a
know.
12-team playoff this year, but they're lazy a-holes.
I mean, Swag, you're spot on. That's exactly why they don't do it. My retort as a college football fan is I don't really like if you can't afford it, then you're not playing meaningful college football. Like, that's my response as a fan. I just am kind of on a personal.
Whoa. There might be a school in Corvallis that actually couldn't do it versus a school in Eugene that easily could.
Built, not bought. I'm just on a personal vendetta.
Substance, not flash.
That's right. This isn't for Hollywood. We don't do this for clicks. I'm just kind of on a personal vendetta against Michigan this year. Michigan might be the best team in college football.
I'm so floored by this. You
Dude,
have been the biggest Harbaugh backer.
I love Jim Harbaugh.
And I remember you going at me because I'm like, is this guy going to win? And you're like,
Yeah.
He's 10-2. Shut up.
I mean,
and now you've been anti.
This is embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing what they've done this year. Their non-conference schedule is embarrassing. And
It was last year.
It was last year. They should be publicly shamed at every opportune moment that we get to talk about Michigan. The first thing you bring up, it doesn't matter if they beat Penn State or Ohio State. They didn't play a Power 5 team in non-conference. They didn't play a road game until October. Like, this is an absolute joke. They are making a mockery of the system and saying it doesn't matter who you play. It doesn't matter who you beat. All that matters is being undefeated. And it's the dumbest thing that exists in this stupid sport. Like, Washington is the prime example of this in all of the years that we followed the playoff. When they made the college football playoff, they played nobody in non-conference. And they had ESPN reporters that were holding up cupcakes during broadcasts, making fun of them. Guess what? They were right. There's no point in playing anybody. The very next year, Washington played Auburn in their opener, and they lost, and they started 0-1, and then your reward the rest of the year is what? You have to go be perfect and win 11 straight or 12 straight games to make it. They're making a mockery of the system, and I want to make fun of them for that. Also, the fact that they have played East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Indiana, which I don't know if any of those teams are over 500, and there's cheating allegations. Like, that's an embarrassing look.
I mean, it's a really bad look because they have one of the best defenses in the country,
They're
if not
loaded,
the best.
dude. They're awesome. They're unbelievable.
It's more like you really need that kind of advantage against Rutgers and Indiana and East Carolina. I would just respond to this because we got to go. I hear what you're saying. I don't like it either, but we've been talking about this for years. Dude, college football is fundamentally broken this way. I love having non-conference tilts that matter and you're like nervous and you don't know if your team's going to win because that's what sports is about.
Yeah.
When you take the easy road, I hate it, but like I would actually tell you, are you mad at Michigan or are you mad at the system? Because this is
fair.
This
Totally
is a
fair.
Dion thing to me, right? Dion is paid $30 million to make Colorado relevant. He does, and then it's like, Dion's the worst, Dion this, Dion that. And I'm like, is Dion making the networks come to his campus? No? Okay. So, like, it feels like you're more mad at the situation and system than you are actually the team and the coach.
That's totally fair. When this happened yesterday, I just started laughing. Like, that non-conference schedule, you've played nobody in the Big Ten. Minnesota's terrible. Nebraska's terrible. Indiana's terrible.
Yeah.
Rutgers is not good, and there's cheating allegations on top of it. Like, Michigan, this will all settle itself. They're going to play Penn State. They're going to play Ohio State at the end of the year. They're going to be, if they win those games in the Big Ten championship, like, they're going to have their opportunities for big wins. But I think you're right. It's probably more of a sport-wide thing, and it's something that needs to be controlled. And if it's not, you need to be punished for this. And this is part of the reason I push back on them being ranked in the top 5. I don't care if you want to rank other teams, Michigan ahead of some of the one-loss teams. That's fine. They have no business being ranked ahead of any of the other undefeated teams. Michigan might be better than all of them, but they have no wins on their resume that's better than anybody else that's undefeated.
Can we accomplish this feat? And a couple notes to observe for the weekend. That's next on The Fan.
Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
We have a lot to get into in the second hour of the show. I want to bring back something we posted online to kick off the second hour. It is time very quickly. We're doing a cupcake thing, I guess. We weren't aware of this. Swag went super ham.
He went ham. We're going to have a sugar high today. I'm going to have to take a nap after the show.
Well, this stemmed from Stat or Story on Wednesday.
Toddler that crashes. I can't even begin to tell you how many texts I've had from like personal friends and buddies who have sent me their strategy on eating large cupcakes. Like I got a random one from Crawford last night at like 8 o'clock at night. Here's what you do. You take this part and it's like, oh, okay. All right. That was out of nowhere.
Well, if anybody would know, it'd be him.
Shots fired.
You meet him, you kind of get what I'm saying pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's got a sound strategy. He's confident in his abilities.
There's certain things with certain people you look at, you go, I trust you here. I trust you. You are my Obi-Wan.
You know how to fix a drain pipe and you know how to eat a cupcake, man.
Well, here's my fear. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. When we get to the giant cupcake in the final hour, I'm afraid that I am going to end up with frosting on my face and Dirt's going to do the ha-ha thing. But, like, ultimately, just remember, even though Dirt may be right on the frosting on the face, the whole thing started with him going, I don't know how to eat a cupcake. And I was just floored by this because, like, I get it's a little messy, but it's a cupcake.
You all right over there?
My microphone has come off of its thing. I got to do a handheld thing now.
Okay.
That's... Hey, look at that.
Show the YouTube. I'm just glad it works.
It's still on. That's good at least.
Take your little mini cupcake.
Right.
You got
I got
mini
minis in here too.
Make sure you turn your 3 cam on there, Swigart. I don't know if we're on that right now or not.
This is not going to do well in my stomach at 6:52 a.m.
No.
These are just vanilla, and they got little colored
Halloween
orange frosting with chocolate.
Third grade
sprinkles.
Sprague would have been super jacked about this.
Yeah, I love the fact that we got small cupcakes like anybody struggles to eat a small cupcake.
My jaw is clicking.
I'll pull up the YouTube.
Tasty.
This is such good radio.
Oh, yeah. We're
Eating
on the 3
cupcakes,
cam.
you're just driving to work. You're like, what are these idiots doing?
Eating cupcakes at 6:53 in the morning and then talking with their mouths full.
All right, there you go. One down.
There you go.
That's easy.
Somebody's got to screen grab that bad boy for us. I need that in GIF form.
I will not be
going down the gullet.
Will not be another one of those. Given we have 2 more left.
No.
Can I interest you, Dirt? Mouthful.
Yeah. What do you got?
Can I interest you in Tyson Baguette versus the Green New Deal?
What? Excuse me?
Neither one of you know what that is, do you?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Do you know who Tyson Baguette is?
Is that the Arizona State quarterback?
No.
They have a Baguette. What's his first name? I will find his information.
He's not the ASU quarterback.
Okay, I don't
He's
know.
not taking the Huskies.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That will be the Chicago Bears starting quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was Bajer.
No, there's no in there. It's E-N-T. B-A-G-E-N-T. Baguette. Tyson Baguette.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
I thought
100%
no,
sure?
There's no R.
Then it's Bajent.
No, it's not Bajent.
Names can be pronounced weirdly no matter how they're spelled.
I'm telling you, I just heard it. It's not Bajent. It's not Bajer. It's Baguette.
The Arizona State quarterback is Trenton Burgay.
Yeah, that's who Swag's thinking of.
That's a B-O-U-R-G-U-E-T.
Do you know who Green New Deal is?
The policy idea? Is this a person? What are we talking about?
It's a person.
No.
It's the nickname of the quarterback Tyson Baguette is going against, and that's Aiden O'Connell, also known as AOC.
Ah, Green New Deal.
He's the Green New Deal.
I got you now. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, Raiders Bears. How excited for that game are you? That's such a bad game.
That was a hell of a setup, dude. That was like that's like when you watch a stand-up special and there's like a 2-minute joke and then you finally get to the punchline and you're like, oh, now it all makes sense. Took a while to get there, but now it makes sense.
What about a banged up Deshaun Watson or PJ Walker against Gardner Minshew?
There's some really bad games this weekend.
Yeah, but there's also some top-end elite ones. Penn Sewell has not allowed a sack in 525 consecutive snaps.
That's pretty good.
He has been unbelievable.
That was a good draft pick of theirs.
Kayvon gets all the noise because he largely creates the noise. Not even close.
According to the NFL pronunciation guide, it's Bajent.
No,
Give it to me.
B-A-Y.
It's not. I'm telling you, the team doesn't even say it.
The NFL pronunciation guide.
Too bad.
I now can't wait to turn on the red zone. At first, I thought if that game shows up on my red zone, I'm going to turn the TV off.
Field goal fest.
Now I'm genuinely excited to hear the first time the announcers call his name to prove this argument from Friday at 6:56 right.
What happens when Hansen says it one way and the announcers say it the other?
Dude, this just happened with the big-time up-and-coming golfer, Ludwig. Oh, it's Aubert now? He changed his last name.
Something like that, yeah.
So
he was the number one collegiate player, and he was on the European Ryder
So what
Cup
is
team.
it?
So it was like, I can't remember.
Aubert?
It used to be like Aubert or something, or Auberg or something.
Yeah.
And then at the Ryder Cup, he was like, no, it's Aubert.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Was he
That's
Okay.
a Tyson Alger thing.
Is he Norwegian or he's Norwegian? I thought.
I believe so. That sounds about right.
You know who also was wrong on the last name of Tyson Alger?
Who?
Our producer.
Yeah, it's true.
Who gets so defensive about how to say last names properly. You tune into that game and you tell me if they say it how you think it's said, because it ain't said that way.
NFL pronunciation guide from the NFL Communications website.
Can you, if you're looking up the NFL and what they released, could you also look up for me NFL's policy or stance on concussions in 2002? Can you tell me what they said about that?
Guard.
That's not on the media website.
So the NFL can't be trusted there. But yeah, the last name of the Chicago Bears backup quarterback that nobody likes.
He went there, huh? Concussion settlement.
Toe to tooth. Well, don't act like you're citing the most credible reference here, as if the NFL knows how to say or do anything properly.
What local mispronunciation bothers you the most? Like for us. Like
Guard.
The CJ McCollum Willamette was pretty egregious.
That was pretty bad.
You see it and you read it a certain way. I understand that. You lived here for like 7 years and you drove over that river every day. And you didn't know that it was the Willamette River? You called it the Willamette?
Yeah, that's really bad.
I also hate how everybody nationally says our state. I mean, that will always
Oregon.
bother me. Hey, come on. Have you not met a soul at all from our state that goes, it's Oregon.
Oregon.
It's Oregon.
Very simple.
Why is this hard? Oregon. You know what else gets me in that same department? Gonzaga. When people
Gonzaga.
No, it's not. It's Gonzaga.
I'm like, how do you say RAG? Rag? Okay. So why would it be Gonzaga and not Gonzaga? I don't get it.
Now, one that I've always been in between, is the correct pronunciation Nevada or Nevada?
I've heard those two as well.
I've heard both.
I
but
say Nevada.
I say Nevada too.
How do they say Nevada in Nevada?
I don't know.
Probably it's Nevada.
Tomato, tomato.
We're
I
doing
don't
in
know.
Nevada what people would do to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when you go to Las Vegas.
What's NFL's website say on that one?
You really tried to do a segment on the Bears and the Broncos. Huh?
No, actually I didn't. But the Cupcake, and we went over the clock. It's like kind of ran out of time. And I'm like,
my mic broke. I'm
yeah,
still
your mic
holding it in my
broke.
hand.
It's been a hell of a final segment in the first hour.
Yeah.
Let's just get to the second hour because I'm pretty excited to talk about some of this football. We did something yesterday that I want to bring back to start the second hour of the show and tie in something that you said about your Oregon Ducks. So we'll do that. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. Tired of dealing with a slow or no
Friday on The Fan.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Pressure steps up, goes down.
KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland. An Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the number 9 ranked Oregon Ducks back home at Autzen this Saturday, looking to rebound from their first loss of the season. They get a wounded Washington State club coming in after getting hammered by Arizona. 12:30 kick. You'll hear it right here on The Fan. Live pregame coverage from Eugene begins at 8 a.m. Ducks currently 20.5-point favorites with Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. After blowing a 15-point lead in the second half, Trevor Lawrence did find Christian Kirk for a 44-yard catch-and-run touchdown. That gave the Jaguars a 31-24 victory over the Saints, extending their winning streak to 4 games. Elsewhere in the NFL, Raiders ruling out quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo for Sunday against the Bears due to a back injury in Cleveland. Quarterback Deshaun Watson throwing at practice for the first time Thursday in 2 weeks. He is dealing with a rotator cuff issue. It'll be a game-time decision Sunday against the Colts. Both the LCS series starting to be extended. Diamondbacks on the board with a 2-1 walk-off win thanks to Ketel Marte's RBI single in the bottom of the ninth. Former Hillsboro Hot Brandon Pfaadt, 4 relievers holding the Phillies to 3 hits. Game 4 coming up tonight on 9:10. First pitch at 5:07, first at 2:07 in Arlington. Game 5 of the ALCS all tied at 2 after the Astros took Game 4 10-3. Justin Verlander, Jordan Montgomery on the mound today. Pre-game coverage will start at 1:30. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan. Dirt and Sprague on Football Friday on 1080 The Fan.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Second hour of the show. Rolling on a Football Friday here on youtube.com/1080 The Fan, 1080 AM, the Odyssey app, or 99.5 HD2. If you missed the first hour of the Service Patriots podcast, you can check it out at 1080thefan.com. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/1080thefan. And, of course, we'll Sprague the line at 8:30 today. So get those Sprague the line sponsors in at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Swag prints out the pronunciation guide from Panthers Bears. I don't know why they're not playing, but he found a pronunciation guide nonetheless. Tyson Bagent is what it says on the pronunciation guide. I'm telling you, just listen for it this weekend. I don't think it's going to be said the same way.
I can't wait.
All right.
We now all have a reason to be excited when that game shows up on our Red Zone on Sunday. I never thought I would say that in a million years.
That was the goal, baby.
That is such a bad game.
I'm betting the under.
Such a bad game.
We did a poll question. I want to get to something you mentioned with Oregon.
Okay.
And I get to a poll question we did here in a second. So you mentioned Oregon's vertical attack against Washington State. And I hear what you're saying. I'm just wondering with the passing attack. This is something to watch this weekend. I mentioned it from the Washington game. They briefly put on the screen the stats of Bo Nix throwing in the pocket versus out of the pocket. And it was jarring to me. I was on my couch like, damn, like that. It's that big of a difference when he's moving and not improvising, but I think the reason you see so many rollouts on their passing attack is mainly out of design of maybe that's the best thing for Bo.
Yeah, he throws really well on the run.
And so I'm more curious if teams caught this, and we'll see with Washington State and other teams that they play, but just kind of testing Bo from the pocket and saying, we're going to kind of trap you and try to break it down. Now, that requires a good pass rush, and Oregon's offensive line is good. But I am wondering how much of that kind of plays a factor going forward for him of seeing how big of a difference it is, him moving and throwing versus him having to throw out of the pocket. Because what is he 6'2"? Listed 6'2"?
Sounds about right. He's standing next to him on the sidelines. I'd guess about 6'2".
Okay,
6'1", 6'2".
6'1", 6'2" is not very tall when you're standing behind 6'4", 6'5" dudes who are 300 pounds.
He's not the biggest dude in the world.
No, so it's a little harder from the pocket. And I more took away from the Washington game a lot of things, but one of them was, do future opponents of Oregon try to create defensive pressures where they want him to stay in the pocket to see if he can beat them that way vertically?
Well, to your point, I think it's a really good one that maybe that was something Washington studied leading into the game. And when key situations came on fourth down and they felt like Oregon was going to throw the ball, they seemed to be ready for those rollout plays.
They did.
And there were sometimes, I'm sure there was a trailing crosser route that he could go to. There's that first outside route that's probably just a little 3 or 4 yards head to the sidelines, right? You have different options on it. But on none of those plays was there ever an opportunity for Bo Nix to run the football. Washington seemed to know that's what was coming. And maybe this is why Oregon's calling these. It's just because he's more comfortable when he's on a bootleg and he's out of the pocket and he kind of let one fly, and he's better at identifying the pressure and where it's coming from around him. But I do get frustrated from time to time watching their passing game because I trust Bo Nix, and he's played a lot of football, and I think he's a really good quarterback. And I know the numbers he's not a Penix from the pocket, if you will, but he can do other things to hurt you, and they're different style quarterbacks. But there is a frustration from time to time when they run essentially like an offense that you would think of with how do we protect a freshman quarterback? Like if I ask you that, hey, we got a freshman starting on the road in a tough environment, what kind of pass plays are you going to call early in the game?
Bubble screens, basically glorified handoffs.
Exactly,
really,
an extension of the run game.
Wide receiver
little
screens,
bubble screens,
yeah.
little tosses down to the back. Let's keep it simple. Let's get them some completions. Let's get them into the flow of the offense. And I don't think you need to handle Bo Nix with kid gloves that way. And it was nice to see them eventually get it going. But I go back, and not all of his long throws last week against Washington were from outside the pocket. He had a couple that were inside the pocket. But once they started hitting on those deep shots, and maybe this is a chicken and the egg thing because Oregon runs the ball so effectively that eventually the safeties came down and then they got the looks that they just simply didn't have in the first half. So that could be part of it. I don't have the all-22 film. But once they started hitting those shots in the second half, their offense seemed unstoppable. Now, they weren't because they got stopped on fourth down and couldn't score on their last drive. But they started scoring at will there for a stretch in the second half, and it largely came in part because they were throwing the ball downfield. You have one of the best wide receivers in college football, man. Troy Franklin might be the best wide receiver in Oregon history. He's on pace to set all of your program records for a single season of touchdowns and receiving yards. They had a third and short late in that game where they just was one-on-one. Throw it up to him. What did he do? He caught it one-handed along the sideline and got you a huge first down that almost iced the game.
That felt like the game when he caught it.
It
I was
did.
like, oh, the momentum is all on their side.
That was a third down on like the 20-yard line, man.
Yeah.
You got to punt. Washington's going to get a short field if you don't get that. And so give him opportunities. They need to get that going. They've had a lot of chances. The Texas Tech game, they missed one. The Stanford game, he overthrew Tez by a yard or two. Like, they've had a lot of close shots. That, to me, is the only missing ingredient of this offense. And if they can get it, it's damn near impossible to stop them.
I do want to ask you about him. He's had a good year statistically. There's no arguing against it. The one thing I'm curious about, and maybe this is a save it for the right time at the right moment at the end of the season thing, he added weight reportedly. He said this himself. He added weight because he wants to run.
Mm-hmm.
He is running significantly less than he did through the first 7 games of last year.
Yes, he is.
It's almost to the point where I'm noticing it on a week-by-week basis, and I'm kind of asking myself out loud, this feels like design, that he or they or both or whatever don't want him out running because you see what Oregon can be if you lose Bo Nix. I don't know if Ty Thompson can really beat the Utahs, Oregon States, and USCs of the world. And I don't know if Oregon feels that same kind of confidence with Ty Thompson.
Yeah.
Something clearly is going on here with their offense where last year, even though he didn't have a ton of games over 100 yards, he put real pressure on you with his legs. He had 141 yards against Stanford.
Yeah, he had like an 80-yard touchdown run in that game.
70 at Arizona, 59 against Cal, 55 against the Huskies. I mean, he's got some pretty good games here. 51 against UCLA. They're not running him. And that's something that's also stood out with him of he made it pretty clear during the offseason, I'm adding weight because I want to run. And now the season's here, and he ain't running at the same clip. I want to say it's about a 10 rushing attempt difference at this point last year from where they were at.
Texas Tech was the only one that stands out that they called some design quarterback runs for him, and he executed them really well.
Is this an NFL thing even maybe? Like the back of his mind, like, hey, I can pass it. Watch, I don't just run the football. I can throw it.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it more has to do with what you first brought up, and that is, how did last season end for Oregon? Yeah. And why did they, in Oregon's mind, why did they lose some of those games? They didn't have their quarterback at 100%. They were damn lucky to win the Utah game. Near the end of the season, he couldn't move in that game.
I would argue they were lucky to have him at the end of the season.
Exactly.
I thought he was going to be done.
Right. I mean, and that was like a 20-17 final, really low scoring. And so I think that's part of it. The surprise, though, that I had to your larger point is it wasn't a bigger part of the offense this week.
It felt like it could have made a big difference against that Husky defense, is having him do more design, delayed, whatever runs. I felt like could have put more pressure on the Husky defense.
There is no reason to run him against Portland State. There's no reason to run him against Hawaii. There's no reason to run him against Stanford, right? Like, you've had some of those games early on that it's like, don't even think about it. Don't try. If you got to scramble, whatever. Scramble. Just make sure you get out of bounds and slide. There's no need for design quarterback runs because you don't need it in order to beat those teams. This was the weekend that I thought that was going to be a bigger part of their offense, and it wasn't. And it's not like their offense isn't clicking. They had 560 yards of total offense.
Sure.
But it's an aspect of, I think, to the point of these fourth down decisions and some of these calls and key 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. What are you going to call? Like, Bo Nix running the football can be extremely effective in those moments. His longest run of the game was a 13-yard run. It was a scramble. It was a 3rd and 13, and he ran around and put the ball. It was a hell of a run.
Recheck the spot. Dude, because they weren't sure if they had it.
He
right.
showed you in that moment, like, he's a problem when he runs the football. I think it's largely, though, they just realize, like, we don't really. And most teams don't, right? If Michael Penix goes down for Washington, their season's toast too. Like, this isn't just an Oregon problem.
Oh, no.
But it's an aspect of, like, do we want that guy healthy? We feel like we need to protect him the best that we can. I was surprised, though, it wasn't a part of their offense more so against Washington than we just didn't really see it.
You would know this better than me. Is there any particular reason Oregon didn't wear these sweet-ass throwbacks a week ago in Seattle? Controversial topic. Somewhat polarizing for grown adults to be arguing about, but here is Oregon with uniform controversy.
God, the throwbacks are so sweet. They're unbelievable.
I just don't understand why, if you want to do different variations of them. I text a buddy of mine who's a diehard Duck fan, and he was asking how I felt about Oregon State uniforms, and then I asked him about the paint splatter Oreo uniform, and we basically agreed on everything. I'm like, yeah, I wish the Benny was on every week, and I go, man, I don't root for Oregon, but, like, truly tell you, as a child growing up here with no allegiances to either school, loved the Oregon uniforms, the UO, and then they did the branding with the Joey Harrington final season, and that was fine. But I love the UO. It's a classic, easy logo to love, and color scheme's great. And then they're doing chrome and gray, and I don't know, like.
Not wearing school colors in big games? Is that what you're talking about?
That's kind of all I'm saying.
Green and yellow are your school colors, and you should wear them in the big games that you play?
I think they're good school colors.
It's a great color scheme, man.
I wish more of you guys would exist. You'd be like, stop it, please.
I know. There were a lot of us that were frustrated, I think, last week. I'm not a big fan of the paint, speckle uniforms. Just not my cup of tea. This weekend I am, and I don't mean this in any disrespect to Washington State. I wish it was for a bigger game.
Sure.
This is like the I think their argument of why they're wearing them is it's homecoming, which to me was never a big deal in college. Like, did you guys ever do anything for homecoming in college? Was anything different that week for you?
I went to a game once and I was hammered.
Yeah.
And someone goes, oh, man, I'm so glad we're winning this game on homecoming. And I go, I remember turning and I go, nobody's ever told me, what do we do at homecoming in college? And he goes, we get effed up, man. We get effed up.
We do that every weekend.
Okay.
That sounds like every Saturday in Eugene.
I was like, okay, well, we're going
to high school, it was a big deal. You'd have a dance. There's homecoming. Like, there was a thing that went into it. In college, it just was another game, another weekend.
High school homecoming.
That was a big week when you got to homecoming week.
Always hoping for a little handsy in the dance, huh?
Where those hands are going to go, huh? You're going to get low, 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 low. Yeah, I'll get low. The college thing, though, it cracks me up. Like, they did it. They're doing it this weekend for homecoming. And I'm like, you should have worn those against USC. Are we going to wear those against Oregon State? Can we wear those in the last Civil War? Are we going to wear stupid chrome, like silvered out uniforms in the last Civil War ever? Or can we get Benny in the interlocked UO? For the love of God, give me the duck crushing through the O and Benny on the other helmet. That's what I want.
I'll put a poll question up. What does homecoming mean in college?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do that poll question, but does it mean anything in college? I'll put a poll question up on that one. Coming up next, a little controversial, the results of this situation. I'll tell you what it is next on The Fan.
A big game set.
Seven for the Daily Ticker. Prove it. Prove it. That's my only message to Penn State this weekend.
It's going to be a DVR game for me. I'm going to be on my way down. The show starts at 8, so I'm going to get home Saturday at some point and dive in because I cannot wait to watch that game.
Well, Oregon, Washington going to the Big Ten next year. Like Penn State loses to Michigan, Ohio State again this year. I'm never taking them seriously again. I'm sorry. I'm just tired of it.
I'm not quite there yet, mainly because of their quarterback. I think Drew Aller is only a redshirt freshman, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a frosh.
Yeah, okay.
He's a frosh.
He was there last year, but they got him a cup. They kind of did the Aiden Childs thing with him last year, where he got a series here or there just to get him some flow and some feel. But there was a lot made of that question from the reporter the other day about throwing the ball downfield. Their offense does not have an explosive passing attack down the field. So it was a really dumb and bad way to ask that question, but I understood what he was trying to get at, and they got to do that this weekend.
You put a poll question up yesterday, which I didn't see any of our tweets again, so I love that X is somehow, blocked my own show and your Twitter accounts from me seeing it ever on my timeline.
We now have countless bots, too, responding with news stories or weird websites about Israel and Gaza and Hamas.
Somebody responded, and I had some Israel-Hamas stuff in my mentions, and I'm like, did I accidentally retweet something or what? Nope. I had to block 7 bots yesterday. Shout out, Elon. You're doing an exceptional job with the dumbest purchase in maybe human history.
Website's going great.
If you could only pick one of these games to watch this weekend, which do you pick? Utah at USC, Penn State, Ohio State, Lions at Ravens, Dolphins at Eagles. And I shouldn't be, but I am. I'm surprised that right now leading this vote is Penn State at Ohio State over Dolphins at Eagles and Utah at USC. And in the very back distance, Lions at Ravens. It's almost as if everybody that voted on this couldn't care less about that game.
Yeah, it's a tough one to answer, right? I think it would have been more fitting to do a college one and an NFL one, because if you're asking me which NFL game I'm more excited for, it is Eagles and Dolphins than over Lions and Ravens.
What game are you more excited for, Penn State, Ohio State, or Eagles, Dolphins?
I answered Penn State, Ohio State.
Really?
I did, mainly because, and it's not that I'm not excited for both, obviously. I can't wait to watch both of them, and Sunday Night Football is going to be awesome. It's more about I love these games in college football. We're on a great streak right now. Now, I'm on the losing end of it, but 2 weeks ago you had the Red River shootout. Oklahoma and Texas was awesome, dude. That was such a good college football game. Oregon and Washington this past weekend was one of the best games that I've ever watched, and I hated the ending of it, but that was such a good game. We're on a really good streak right now. I think Penn State, Ohio State's going to be the exact same way. I don't see either team blowing this out. I don't see Ohio State having the offense that can separate and pull away. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little low scoring early. I think we're set up for another classic, and I can't wait to watch it. The Big Ten title implications, remember, they don't have the no division thing. So you have to win that division to play for the Big Ten championship. Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan are all in the same division in the Big Ten, which makes no sense. And so it's a massive, massive game, not only for the conference race, but for the college football playoff as well.
The weird thing about it is yesterday I said what I don't like about college football is when a team loses a game, the entire fan base freaks the F out, plays the schedule game, and then says, well, and then if they lose the second game, there's a lot of fan base that go, well, season's over.
Yeah.
And they'll watch and they'll follow, but they're sitting there disappointed. And I think that's the advantage it has over the NFL for some is the stakes of Penn State, Ohio State are so much bigger than Dolphins either losing in Philly or Philly losing to the Dolphins at home.
Could be a great game, but you're going to leave it not worried about the Eagles winning a Super Bowl.
No, nor the Dolphins, I think, even if they lose. But what I don't like about that is this is still the biggest football game of the weekend. Yeah. You can slice it 8 different ways. And if you like college more than the NFL, then you're going to disagree with this. This is the Dolphins and Eagles is the biggest game of the weekend to me.
It's the best game of the weekend. I don't know.
Okay,
I disagree with biggest.
Maybe that's the way.
I disagree with biggest.
Maybe that's
best.
the way to say it.
It will be the best football product likely on television this weekend.
Matchup-wise on paper going into games, I think that's the right way. Best. Biggest, it's always going to probably be college here, because it feels like a playoff game every time you get one of these, which is great, but also I don't like it because in a way you're punishing a team for, not being perfect for 12 weeks.
Yeah, this is why I can't wait for an expanded playoff where these games are still amazing. We still care a ton. There's still going to be a freak out from the losing team. but there's not that sense of like, oh God, what's next if you lose a game against a top 5 team on the road in the regular season.
If that had existed this year, would these percentages be tilted a little more towards Dolphins Eagles?
I don't know. That's a really good question. That's always been the criticism of an expanded playoff.
Because it's a 0.4 margin. It's a very tight margin between those.
I've always said that the blessing and curse of college football is it is the only sport when your team loses a game, it feels like you have to do an autopsy. If the Eagles lose at home 31-28 to Miami on Sunday night, nobody is going to sit around and say, God, what's wrong with the Eagles?
What if Hurts throws 2 picks, no tuds? That's 7 touchdowns,
I guess
9 picks.
Style of play that it turns out maybe that leads to it. But if Miami loses 42-38, but Tua plays great, Philly has the ball last. You're not going to say, God, what's wrong with Miami? Why can't? You're just going to say that was a hell of a game. You got to get better defensively if you want to win in the playoffs, but you're not going to have a panic meter. This is going like this game, Ohio State, Penn State. Dude, Ryan Day, the way he handled that Notre Dame win, you could tell that was built up angst of hearing over and over and over again about him not being able to win the big game, his team not being physical. And Lou Holtz just happened. It was like, you're mad at your dad, you're not mad at me. Lou Holtz just happened to be on the other end of that. Dude, if James Franklin loses this game, everybody in Penn State's going to be saying likely, like, when? When are we going to start winning these? He's dominated Penn State, and his record against Ohio State and Michigan is like 3-15. He can't beat these teams.
We need to go to Daniel Gallen. We'll Sprague the line an hour from now, so get the Sprague the line sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line. What I'll say to you is this. If we can bring this back with Daniel Gallen, I think you're right in some ways. I think the fans would point to those matchups and say, man, you don't do very well here. I'll be curious to hear Daniel's reaction. I kind of disagree with you, though. I think the fan base is totally okay being what they are.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I do. Now, do they want to win a title again? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not arguing to fire him because that's dumb.
No, but 9-3, 10-2, seemingly every year, I kind of think the fan base has accepted what they are. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and I don't follow Penn State closely enough, but I think he does a pretty good job. It's just hard to beat those programs specifically. They out-recruit you. Now, Penn State's done a much better job in that department, but let's ask Daniel Gallen that. Penn State at Ohio State. We'll dive back into the NFL. We got Lions, Ravens, Dolphins, Eagles. There's some good games on the slate, not just the Tyson Bagent and Aiden O'Connell, AOC, the Green New Deal, as they call them in the streets. So we'll get to some NFL that matters. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30. Daniel Gallen covers Penn State for Lions 24/7. He joins us for the Daily Ticker to preview that big game next. But first, Swag with the Sports Update.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, number 9 Oregon looking to bounce right back from their first loss of the season. Last week they get the Washington State Cougars coming to Autzen for a 12:30 kick. They were housed by Arizona last week. You'll hear it right here on the Fan. Our live pregame coverage from Eugene will begin at 8 a.m. Ducks currently 20.5-point favorites on the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook line. The Jags blew a 15-point lead in the second half. Then Trevor Lawrence found Christian Kirk for a 44-yard catch-and-run touchdown in the fourth quarter. That was enough for the Jaguars to beat the Saints 31-24, extending their winning streak to 4 games. Key injury notes in the NFL. Raiders ruling out Jimmy Garoppolo Sunday due to a back injury. They got the Bears. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, quarterback Deshaun Watson did throw at practice Thursday for the first time in a couple of weeks, dealing with a rotator cuff issue. He will be a game-time decision Sunday at the Colts. A walk-off RBI single from Ketel Marte gave the Arizona Diamondbacks their first win in the NLCS. 2-1 the final. Former Hillsboro Hot Brandon Pfaadt and 4 relievers held the Phillies to just 3 hits. Game 4 tonight on 910 ESPN Portland, 5:07 first pitch. Before that at 2:07 in Arlington, Game 5 of the ALCS. Houston's evened things up at 2 games apiece after a 10-3 win over the Rangers. Today it's Justin Verlander and Jordan Montgomery on the mound. Pre-game coverage will start at 1:30 on 910. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan. In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
This is the Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague visit the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, Daily Ticker time on a Football Friday. The great part about being on YouTube now is that people think that Swag came in here during the break to yell at us about something. Like somebody texted in, look at Daddy Swag coming in to yell at the boys during the break. If only you knew what
Daddy Swag?
Daddy Swag. We might start calling him Daddy Swag around here now.
Somebody actually yesterday, one of our P1s said, hey, can we get a Swag update cam? Like they want to watch him do the updates.
We do on some of them, not all of them, but I know some of them we do.
I don't think he has just his camera, though. Like,
yeah,
not
we gotta
us,
work
just him.
on just update cam.
Just Swag cam. So, we were yelling about things, but not at each other during the break. Let's talk about the big game this weekend with somebody who knows a lot more about it than we do. Daniel Gallen, at Daniel JT Gallen on Twitter, covering Penn State for Lions 247. Daniel, good morning to you. How much, I can't wait for this. How much pressure is on James Franklin for this one? We know how good he has been. The record against Ohio State and Michigan, not good. This feels like a year that they can compete, and maybe Ohio State isn't what they have been. Just how much pressure is on Franklin going into this one tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the better way to look at it is that there's a lot of expectations on Penn State and James Franklin. I mean, you look at the defense that they have, you look at the quarterback that they have, you look at how they've performed through these first 6 games of the season. Say what you want about the competition, but I think that the expectations are really there. And I guess you can say with expectations comes a little bit of pressure there, but I think that the way things are set up, that there's, a lot of confidence and, more expectation, I think, than pressure. I think that that's how I look at it right now.
Yeah, Daniel, not every team is the same year to year. We know that. My position on this, I'm excited to watch this to see if Penn State can pull off this upset. And you'd be better served to answer this or kind of respond to it than anybody else. But, my reaction is, Penn State's beaten Ohio State one time since 2012. Prove it. You know what I mean? I think this is a good team, but prove it. Enough is enough. They're 10-2 or 9-3 every year, and their couple losses are against the 2 juggernauts of their conference. Do you feel like they're going to be able to prove it this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they are probably better positioned than they've been in a long time to prove it. I mean, you look at what they have, especially in the trenches. I mean, Penn State basically lost the game last year, with the matchup between the Ohio State defensive line and the Penn State offensive line. I think that Penn State O-line this year is a lot better. I think the Penn State D-line this year is a lot better. And I think that those are kind of the things that you can hang your hat on as things that can change or alter a game. That's where you get the confidence. And, when I was going to pick this game, I think that that's something that I really, really looked at.
I remember when talking to you before the season started, and a lot of the expectations at Penn State were about Drew Aller and just what he was going to bring, and having kind of a difference maker at quarterback, in such a highly touted kid coming out of high school. What have Penn State fans seen from him? What have you seen from him here early on in the season, and how do you think he's ready to handle what I think people would argue is that first kind of showcase game for him on the national stage?
It's going to be really interesting to see what he looks like tomorrow. I think the best way to describe what he's been through these first 6 weeks of the season, and I know this term can get used as a pejorative by some people, but I don't really think it is in this case, but he's really been a game manager. He's done what Penn State has needed him to do. He has not turned the ball over this year. He has no interceptions. He fumbled the ball once, and Penn State recovered it. Going back to last year, 16 games with no turnovers. He's making the throws when he needs to make them. He's checking the offense at the line, getting them into the right looks. And the offense, even though it hasn't had those big plays, has been moving very, very efficiently with Drew Aller as the quarterback. Now, tomorrow, I think it's going to be the first time this year where he's going to need to make some big plays. He's going to need to make some big throws. Penn State is going to need to score quickly at some point. And I think that's where, we'll look at Drew Aller and we'll learn a lot about him.
What's your prediction for the game? You mentioned a prediction. It's the big nooner 9 a.m. kick at Ohio State. Tough environment. What's your prediction then?
So going into the season, I had Penn State finishing the year 11-1 with the loss at Ohio State. 6 weeks into the season, I think I still see Penn State finishing 11-1, but I'm willing to flip that loss off of the Ohio State game. I don't know if it's going to be Michigan or someone else, but I'm going with I'm going with Penn State tomorrow at Ohio State. I look at what Penn State should be able to do up front defensively. Last year Marvin Harrison Jr. really got his against Penn State, but it didn't really swing the game that much. He had a very quiet 10 for 185. CJ Stroud had a very quiet 354 yards through the air. But this defense this year is improved. I think the offensive line is improved. I think that you have a little bit of an upgrade in terms of the ceiling at quarterback with Drew Aller and Sean Clifford. And I just think that Penn State is really going to be able to get after Cal McCord. So I've got Penn State 31, Ohio State 27.
Ooh, we got a couple of weeks in a row of a really good game in college football. That would be one. Last one I have for you, Daniel. We joke all the time in college football. It's the only sport where if your team loses, you kind of have to do like an autopsy and people freak out. Like Oregon's been going through that. They played Washington this past weekend and certain calls, and you're questioning the coach and where do you go from here and all that. What's the reaction at Penn State if they are to lose this weekend? How are they rational enough to say, hey, this is a road game against a top 5 team? Is there panic? Is there pitchforks? What's the reaction if they lose tomorrow?
I think you're always going to have that very vocal segment of the fan base. I think that you'll hear a lot of, James Franklin can't beat Ohio State. James Franklin can't win the big one. At the same time, the way that the schedule is set up, you get that crack at Michigan on Veterans Day at home at Beaver Stadium. If you turn around and win that one, you finish the year out, you're 11-1. Who knows what happens elsewhere in terms of getting you into the Big Ten title game. And I think when you look at the way the 4-team playoff is set up, I mean, if you're 11-1 and you beat Michigan and your only loss is to Ohio State, obviously depends on what else Ohio State does. You're going to be in the conversation for a top 4 spot. So, I think last year we saw where Penn State, lost their first one to Michigan, and that there was kind of that autopsy. There was kind of the asking a lot of questions. Where do we go from here? But at the same time, people knew that you had that Ohio State game looming there. So I think that even if Penn State comes up short tomorrow, the way the schedule is set up, you have that Michigan game. You still have a route to Indianapolis in the Big Ten title game. You still have a route to make a case for a spot in the college football playoffs. So if things don't go well, I mean, it's going to do good traffic for our message board. But, I think that people are going to know that there's still season remaining.
Yeah, Daniel Gallen, great stuff covering Penn State. Give him a follow on Twitter at Daniel JT Gallen, and he's covering Penn State for Lions 247. I'm sure everybody over there is fired up. I can't wait to watch this game tomorrow. Thanks so much for the time and the preview out here in Portland, man. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys having me. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Daniel Gallen, previewing Penn State, Ohio State. I can't wait. There is going to be a freak out that happens either way. Like, even if Ohio State loses this game,
that's a legit freak out. I think he's kind of getting to my point, though. Like, the vocal minority of Penn State will be loud. I think most fans are just going to kind of shrug and go, well, we'll try to beat Michigan. Like, I just feel like more people are rational, but it's the super minority that pop off on the message boards, on Twitter, on whatever, and be mad about this. You got to be realistic. This isn't the 90s anymore. It ain't Joe Pa. It's a tough sport to win and go against those two teams themselves.
Yeah.
This might be a good chance. They haven't won in Columbus since 2011.
Holy hell.
It's been a while. Weirdly, 2010 and 2011, back-to-back years, they played in Columbus, and they didn't go on and off. But if they're going to have a year, it's this year. Kyle McCord sucks. Like, I don't know how else to say it. He's not very good. None of the metrics support him. He's got one of the best receiving cores in the country, and it just feels like a bit of a lackluster season for them offensively in some regards. But damn, does that defensive line, they can wreck teams, and now you're going against a freshman. So who knows?
Go back and look at the highlights from the game last year between these two. JT Tuimalau basically single-handedly won this game.
He had a pick six.
Took
He had
over
two
completely.
interceptions in a row, didn't he? And one of them was a pick six. He
It
won
was
the
a
game.
tight game in the fourth quarter on the road, and he just dominated and was like, I'm going to go win this game right now.
They
And
ended up blowing him out.
They did. It was like, holy hell, that came out of nowhere. And so I don't know. I'm fired up for this one. It should be a lot of fun. Penn State, Ohio State, 9 a.m. tomorrow.
I think this speaks to the Big Ten conference in general. Ohio State is number one in the conference in passing. 300 yards.
Yikes.
It's just not a good conference. Like Indiana, Northwestern, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa. Like you hear those, you don't think elite offense.
Yeah.
It's a down conference year in offense, but Ohio State can still reign supreme because of the surrounding talent.
And now also do the fun game of what happens if Ohio State wins this game tomorrow, Penn State beats Michigan at Penn State, and then Michigan beats Ohio State in the final game of the season. Have fun solving that conundrum.
Well, who gets into the Big Ten title?
You would have to go to
conference,
tiebreakers.
Right? Yeah.
You'd have to go to they'd all have one loss. They would all have it would be like the year Washington, Oregon, and Oregon State all had that like round robin beating each other thing. And it's like, well, who gets it? Who won the head to head? But you can't do a head to head. So have fun with that. The division thing is so dumb that the Big Ten still does that. But this is a big one in that division and for that conference championship race and the playoff race. Let's get to the rest of the slate in college football this weekend. Another tight sphincter game that I would love to talk about. Also, Cupcake number 2. The tum-tum's starting to rumble a little bit. Let's throw some more sugar in it next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
To the end zone, off the fingertips of Moreau. Could not hold it in, setting up a 4th and goal.
Al Michaels, Amazon Prime. Brutal moment there for Foster Moreau, who battled through cancer, came back, became an NFL player, and he was seen rah-rah on the sidelines, ended up dropping the passes. He's devastated. He's probably still thinking about that today, and the Saints lose to the Jags at home.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it up. I think Al Michaels was the bigger stinking it up last night. Christian Kirk had an unbelievable catch and run for the go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes of that game, and Al Michaels was half asleep during the entire call. Love Al Michaels, great broadcaster, but not anymore.
Who's Stinking It Up? Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com.
Get in the zone. AutoZone.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, Roger Klotz, what's happening? Welcome back in. 7:50 here on a Friday morning. They're rebooting that. Did I see that headline right? Didn't somebody tag us in that? They're bringing Doug Funny back?
It's Doug and Patty finally got it on. Doug lost his V card and he had a baby. Put that mayo in Patty mayonnaise.
All right. Okay, here we go. Cupcake challenge number 2.
Cupcake challenge
This
number
is a
2.
very fancy, moist-looking cupcake. It looks kind of like the Hostess
Yes.
With the
cupcakes.
mostest.
Yeah.
So for those of you on YouTube, you can watch us eat cupcakes.
Yeah.
That's a thing. We're
So
doing
this would be a standard, what would be considered a standard or
size.
regulation-sized cupcake.
I still don't know why I had to eat the small one this morning. I'm still frustrated by that.
When you go wine tasting, you have a flight of wines.
And I
They
get drunk
take
at the
you
end of
through-
it, and it's fun.
Yeah, he's going to have to bowel movement a lot after the show.
Well, the final one
28
is,
ounces of coffee in my stomach right now, and I'm throwing a sugar bomb on top of it.
You could dial this any way you want. The reality is, again,
I'm uncomfortable.
you wanted to be Fat Swag today because none of the conversation was around tiny cupcakes.
Yeah, I know how to eat a tiny cupcake. It fits in my mouth.
Just had a moment of inspiration there. At
Inspiration is what we call it, huh? Okay, I'll take a bite. Here we go.
Doug has commented, I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cupcakes. All right, that was a clean bite. I see nothing on the face.
They're pretty good.
Okay.
There is a cream filling in there. Hopefully it's not like Van Wilder. You have any dog? I've had this before.
Did you go in at the same time, too? Did you already bite it, Swag, or you not yet?
No, I got
Not
it.
yet?
I got it
Okay.
here.
It's fudge frosting
Fudge frosting.
with white inside. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm going to regret this. I have yard work I have to get done today. And
Do we have to eat the entire thing? Can we just bite into it?
He spent his money, man. You can... Well, we're poor. We're on the radio.
Hey, we're on YouTube now.
Once upon a time, being in radio actually meant you made good money, and now it doesn't.
Or it would have meant there would have been somebody ready to bring cupcakes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would have been a sponsored deal. And, well, this brought to you by...
All right, I just pulled up the YouTube feed. It looks like I got a little chocolate on Swigart's face there for a moment. Huh?
Yeah,
a little
hold on,
chocolate on
hold
the face.
Stop. Can we pause?
Yeah, what do you got?
Getting a tiny bit of frosting is no different than having a chocolate chip from a cookie or a little pie crumble.
Or a little milk mustache.
This is not how all this...
A little milk mustache.
I love a milk mustache.
You spilling cookies all over your face? Does that happen when
No.
you eat cookies?
My
You just end up
point
with
is-
cookies on my forehead. How did that happen?
This is not how this started. You have morphed this into you winning no matter what.
Yeah,
and
because you know I'm right.
No.
You know I'm right.
You flat out were like, I don't know how to eat a cupcake. And we were like, what?
The cupcake it's a problem, man.
It's not a problem.
It's a problem. All right, I got to buy. Okay, well, somebody's got to be able to talk here. You two fat asses are just shoving cupcakes in your mouth left and right.
It's a good cupcake.
This is
though.
all
I
about
gotta give
me
you credit.
trying to eat cupcakes. You guys are just looking for excuses to eat cupcakes in the morning. I don't even want to eat this one. Whose dumb idea was this?
A Fat Swag.
I don't even like desserts, man. I don't even like cupcakes.
All right, go ahead.
Give me a
There you
cake,
go.
damn it.
It was a 3-biter.
All right.
You like cake better than cupcake. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I got a fork and there's,
You know what I almost did before Swag, because I knew Swag was going to buy them.
That's pretty good.
I went to Costco, and I had to pick up a couple of things. I swung by the bakery area, which is such a dangerous game to play, man. Costco has all of the good baked
It's one of the
goods.
best smelling
Unbelievable.
places you can go.
It's really good.
And I drove, and I walked past their cupcake, the Costco cupcake, because that's what we're talking about, the bigger than normal cupcake. Do you know what they have right now?
What do they have?
They basically have an apple pie on top of a cupcake, and I almost bought that to play this game. One, because I'm fat, and I wanted to eat it.
Deep down, I'm fat.
But also, I knew it would be the messiest possible thing you could eat.
Now, was that a
Deep
true
down,
cupcake
I'm
or
fat.
was that a muffin?
No, so it looks like the size of their muffins, but they make cupcake version
Okay.
sizes of those.
I was just clarifying.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely a cupcake. Definitely a cupcake.
You're right, Dirt.
People are identifying Swag's frosting on the face. Joel has commented that, so people have identified that.
Let me
Jeremy said I look clean. I made it out clean.
let me finish my Michigan schedule here.
Cody has said Swag eating a cupcake is as bad as Swag's take on Baker Mayfield. I don't know what your take on Baker
What was
Mayfield
my take on
is,
Baker Mayfield?
but we're now computing the two together, which I kind of like.
I don't remember my. Oh, I didn't have a take.
Somebody said
that's what it was.
Dude, thank you. Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on. Let me finish this Michigan schedule.
Yeah.
When you were out,
Yeah.
oh my God, an all-timer.
What happened? What did I miss?
Friday show, feeling good. Come back at went over the clock, so we have a shorter segment. And I look at Swag, and I'm looking and reading Baker did an interview, and it was before they had lost to Detroit. And I go, man, Baker's having a good moment for himself. People are talking about him in a positive way. The Bucks are off to a nice little start. Like, how about Baker? And Swag literally goes, after I say, what about Baker, huh? Swag goes, and I go, are you going to say anything? And he goes, and I was like, do you have an opinion?
You got nothing?
And he goes, I got nothing. He just on the air, I got no opinion. This guy inundates me with opinions on everything in the world.
Everything. You just had no take on Baker Mayfield?
And I get to Baker Mayfield, and he just sat there and was like,
I got nothing. Littering in.
And I'm like, great radio.
Littering in.
Great radio. Thank you for bringing that back, Cody.
All right. That's well played right there. Well, there you go. Cupcake challenge number 2. Somebody asking, I don't get it. Why are you eating cupcakes on the air?
No, I know. It's
not great radio. We understand that.
But if you missed it, then...
I mentioned earlier in the week that I have a hard time eating cupcakes. Cupcakes are a problem. Big cupcakes. I don't know how to bite into them.
Well, your next cupcake is called the chocolate explosion.
More chocolate? More chocolate?
Really? You had to go there on a Friday? You had to go there? Really?
You know what they say, right?
We're going to get a chocolate explosion in the 8 a.m. hour, huh?
All over.
So that's what it stemmed from, was a statter story thing about cupcakes. I said I have a hard time eating cupcakes. They're too big. I don't know where to bite in. The problem with cupcakes especially is that the frosting is, the icing is delightful, right? We all love the icing.
Sure.
It's too much on its own. Like, if you just take a bite of the frosting off, I can't handle that. That's like too much.
But that's a pretty moist cupcake we have.
That's a sugar bomb going off. Sure, the cake part of it
when
is...
they're moist, they're good.
They're okay, but also I don't just like... Whoever just eats the cake part alone. Like, no, I just don't want to eat plain cake. When you bake a cake, you put, like, you don't just make the cake part with no icing and no filling. You need something with it. Usually it's just kind of dry. That was pretty moist. I like them moist.
Yep.
Don't pull that.
Yep.
So that's the hard part with the cupcake, is you need to have both, and when they're big, it's hard to bite into it because you want the icing and the cake as a part of your bite.
Right.
And that's the difficult challenge.
So our house, we would call this a nori. My daughter is notorious for basically going off a cupcake plate, grabbing one, swiping the frosting, and then putting it right back amongst the other ones. And you look and you're like, who licked the frosting off of this? And then you see her over there with chocolate in her mouth. She's like, I don't know. And
going crazy, running around in circles.
She doesn't like the cake part. You're so right. She doesn't like the cake part of this. Big game this weekend, though, huh, Eugene?
Big game.
Cupcake talk for 2 days in a row.
Well, just wait for the last segment, or Spring in the Line. I think we're going to do it during Spring in the Line. We're going to get a chocolate explosion in our face at 8:30.
Well, that would line up with our picks. So
if you're tuning in on YouTube, we thank you. And if you're not, you can check it out on YouTube if you missed this and where you're wondering why we're doing this on the radio. Let's show this highlight now, too. We'll break down this play. See this post route. Oh, wait, no, that's bad radio. Okay, we got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Some more thoughts on the college football weekend. Tight sphincter game, that's coming up. We will Spring the Line at 8:30, so get your fake sponsors in at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Some thoughts on the big NFL matchups. It is loaded. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Snap into action.
subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan. This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
There's glory in the legends of this hard muscle life, and there's poetry in each season made of sweat and strife.
Dirt and Sprague on Football Friday.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
All I know is, you mess with me, you got problems.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, and YouTube.
I saw something during the break, and it's hilarious. So somebody tweeted about 30 minutes ago, Todd Graham years ago, I forgot about this. Todd Graham accused Mike Leach of stealing signs.
Yes, he did.
And so the next year they played Arizona State. Leach purposely, every single play, is seen just hoisting up his hands, indicating the play, like very clearly, like, F you, Todd Graham. Here's my signs. Stop it. I dare you. Yeah. I miss the Pirate.
I do too.
I miss the Pirate.
R.I.P. Gone too soon, man. This stuff's been around forever. Oregon and Arizona State was the first time I remember seeing the big sheets, the big bed sheets behind the coaches.
That ended up being a crazy-ass game, but yeah, that was hilarious when they brought the sheets out.
And that's kind of how it started for me. And you're like, that's right. Teams try and steal signs. It's been going on in football forever. You do whatever you can to find an advantage.
I did some investigative work. I looked at the big Cupcake.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I think you're going to ultimately get out of here laughing and winning because
you're going to end up with Cupcake all over your face.
Well, it's a bit higher than normal frosting is what I would describe it as.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, by the way, tune into the YouTube page. We're eating cupcakes. That's what we're doing as a sports radio show today. I know what you're going to start with here, and I'll just say, not happy about it.
You know where I'm going to start?
Yeah.
Where am I going to start?
No, go ahead. Take it away.
Dealer's choice.
Yeah,
huh?
No, take it away.
So are we excited about the ALCS and NLCS now?
Well, you went a worse way than I thought you were going to go.
Well, now I had to change it up. I wasn't going to start with that. Now I got to keep you on your toes. You can't be you're reading my signals. You figured out my hand signs. You know what segment was coming. So now I got to call a hot route.
When I handed it off, I felt awful. There's two massive NFL games this weekend, and we just didn't talk about them enough.
I mean, we did have the Astros have tied it up 2-2.
The Astros have tied it up.
Huh?
Verlander, Jordan Montgomery. I think tonight, that ALCS, or I guess it's this afternoon now, this ALCS Game 5, I think, could have some drama.
I told you guys down 2-0 is the time to bet the Astros, man. They're too experienced to think the Rangers were going to sweep them or win in 5. I have no idea who's going to win the series, but I'm still banking on the Astros.
I'm glad the Diamondbacks won so they don't get swept, but I still have no less confidence that the Phillies will ultimately win that series.
I'm actually kind of rooting for Philly, and I still found myself screaming at my television yesterday out of the stupidity from the Diamondbacks. Like, taking out a pitcher who was absolutely cruising with 2 outs in the 6th inning. They hadn't touched him in like 3.5.
Yeah.
Like, nobody could touch him. Like, he had struck out
Former
Schwarber.
Hillsboro Hop, Brandon Pfaadt.
He had struck out Schwarber twice looking. And Schwarber was coming up with 2 outs and nobody on. They took him out of the game. And now they ended up winning the game. So, you know, hindsight, whatever, you're fine.
No, but you were put in a position.
Like, what are we doing here, dude?
Yeah.
This guy is on cruise. Like, at least ride it till the wheels fall off. It's a 0-0 game. If Schwarber hits a solo shot, you're down 1-0, whatever. You take him out of the game. You're not winning if you don't score a run anyway. So, and then they had a base running move. I think it was in the 9th inning. Where they had a play at the plate.
First and third, nobody out.
They had a play at the plate, and then the guy at second didn't go to third at the plate, and so they had 1 out then with only a guy on second. They, again, ended up winning, but I'm just like, what are you doing? Pull your head out of your ass.
No, it was first and third. It was first and third, nobody out, and they got him at home, so then they were first and second with 1 out.
But there was a play, though, where a guy could have taken third, and he didn't take third. And it was just, I was incredibly frustrated.
Yeah, who's going to be the manager that finally says enough of this analytic bull narc? I'm pitching my guy until his arm's falling off, especially if he's rolling. Because guess what happened in the 7th? Wild pitch.
Yeah,
Philly
scored him a run.
There you go.
All right, let's do what you want to do. Eagles
No.
Dolphins.
We can do college.
Sorry, we
football.
don't have a lot of time here anyways.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I'm more excited for college football Saturdays than I am NFL Sundays.
Have you found yourself being that way
Yes.
all season?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have. It just, to me, there's more on the line. I love NFL football, but I have days sometimes in the afternoon on Sunday where I'm like,
Oh, the last couple weeks, there have been some real duds.
Like, I'll go get something
real
done.
duds.
I'll go do a little yard work. It's nice
Yeah.
today. Let's go barbecue. I have other things, but there are games in college football where I'm like, I'm not moving an inch until this game is over, kind of thing.
Right.
And Sunday Night Football will be different because that's a standalone game. So Eagles and Dolphins will undoubtedly, I will watch the entirety of it. But there are days in Sunday where I'm like, dude, Broncos and whoever, like,
Broncos, Packers this weekend.
Dude, no, thank you. That's a bad game.
Buzz your girlfriend.
Pats and Bills does nothing for me.
No,
I don't care.
The only afternoon game that has a curiosity factor outside it being
Chiefs
your team,
Chargers.
Chiefs Chargers.
Yeah, there's 3 good games this weekend. Really good games.
What's your third game? Because I know
it's Chiefs Chargers.
That's a good game.
I mean, I think the history with Herbert at quarterback lends this self to be overtime or down to the wire, doesn't it? The Chargers are always the stupid team that either lose the game they shouldn't, or they damn near win the game that nobody thinks that they will. But the funny thing about the Chargers is it feels like they almost always come out of those games losing. And so they take advantage of the weak teams on their schedule. But yeah, I think it's fair to classify, because it's not just Staley. Staley is easily above everything else with the Chargers. I do think there's starting to be a little bit of noise with Herbert. Not in he's not good, but it's like
he wasn't sharp last game.
He wasn't.
He missed some throws to some open guys.
And, these close games, he's on the losing end of a lot of them. And in that league, we just fundamentally say, well, what's his win-loss in these kinds of games? And so fair or not, that is starting to be a narrative. And I would argue it actually already was for a lot of fans that aren't Oregon fans or Charger fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think it's a great game. If the Chargers have any chance to turn this around, and they're sub 500 now, you got to win games like this to be able to right that ship. I don't believe that they can, but it's not like the Chiefs offense scares me all that much right now, even getting Mecole Hardman. And I know Kelsey's playing really well with the Taylor Swift stuff going on, but I don't know. I think it's a good game. I think you got Lions, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers, and then you've got Sunday Night Football with Dolphins at Eagles.
Well, if you're in that line of thinking, at least there's one in each window. So the Lions, Ravens game's a 10 a.m. game. Chargers, Chiefs is 1:25, and then the Sunday Night Football game. So you get at least a standalone kind of game that you could watch in its entirety.
I was thinking about this a week or two ago because Fox wasn't airing Bills Dolphins.
Yes.
However long that ago, 3 weeks ago. I was thinking about this at that moment. Our local affiliate Coin was playing, I don't know what, but it wasn't that game, and it wasn't a game at all.
Well, they only had one game. They only had the
Yeah.
single regional game because it alternates back and forth between Fox and CBS, who gets the doubleheader and who has the single regional game.
Here's my thing. In the 21st century of streaming and pick your own, thing, how much would you pay, or would you be willing to pay extra for a channel on your cable subscription or streaming service to say, I choose the football game and not your paid programming?
Yeah, I get to pick the game that I want to watch.
Like $3 extra a month, $2 extra a month to say, let me choose on those days if I want your paid programming or I want your football.
I still wouldn't do it. I know that sounds weird. I'm still always a red zone guy through and through. I don't like having multiple screens on during Sundays, and there's a lot of games that I don't care about, but I usually have a little bit of money involved in a lot of those, whether it's a big parlay, a teaser, a money line bet, whatever the case. And so I will always be a red zone guy.
See, I have the red zone on the big screen too, but when there's big games, like if I can get Detroit, Baltimore, which I don't know if I can yet, if I can, that's going to be definitely on the iPad next to me, and I will be keeping an eye on that game the entire time it's on.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I'm kind of struggling this week. Where would you guys be looking at a survivor pick? Seahawks is kind of the trendy one so far. There's something about Arizona and Seattle that just scares me. I don't know why. They have a bad history against, I just envision Colt McCoy going in there and winning a game, knocking Seattle out of the playoffs.
If I was looking at, what am I to say this because I got knocked out in week 4?
You were eliminated.
If I was to pick one, I'd probably pick Niners against the Vikings.
You like Niners on the road?
Or I would, and I also said that last week, or I would...
Yeah.
What's the point of me even giving you this information?
I need a little feedback. I want some
Bills or
Bills.
San Francisco are my
the
two
Patriots
picks.
offense is
They suck.
awful.
Yeah, the
They're
Patriots.
And even
suck.
though the Bills, for whatever reason, seem to just be in their own way, they're not losing this
Go
game,
look
are
at them
they?
the last, I'm bringing this up, because there is a thing about Josh Allen when he plays, because they're famously known, New England, for their defense.
Mhm.
Allen's put up some pretty good numbers against Belichick lately. And yeah, Buffalo was weird last week against the Giants, but I'd still kind of eye Buffalo, San Francisco if I was doing Survivor.
One last note on the NFL weekend, by the way. I was thinking about it last night because you mentioned the Herbert stuff, and he has gotten it a lot this last week. He wasn't good at all on Monday Night Football. I would argue again that it's not, he can not play well, but he's also not the sole reason that they lose. Their defense has been an absolute nightmare over the last 2 years. They can't run the football. Like they're just not a very good team. They should be because they're spending a lot of money, especially on the other side of the ball. They should be better than they are. But I was watching the game last night, just thinking to myself, how about giving a young quarterback like Jacksonville couldn't have screwed up year one with Trevor Lawrence any worse than they did. Urban Meyer might be the worst coach in the history of the National Football League. He was that bad. That was his rookie season, and it was an epic disaster. And at least they had the wherewithal to say, oops, our bad. Let's course correct this thing. And they went out and got a proven head coach with a good offensive mind, a guy that is beloved inside the locker room, a dude who won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Like, I just was thinking last night, like, God, it must be nice to surround a young quarterback with a really good mind and a head coach who's been through a lot, who's seen a lot, who's developed quarterbacks, and it's helping Trevor Lawrence tremendously early in his career.
I'm with you. It was a good pivot from Urban. I'm not actually pretty big Doug Peterson guy. I think he's going to be problematic for them.
Wow.
Look at the second half lull they had. Yeah, they had the touchdown Christian Kirk that went long. I think up until that play, they had 13 passing yards in the second half. They had like a total of like 3 first downs. Like his teams are weird. Better than Urban. Your point is spot on
They
that.
did go from the worst team in the NFL to the playoffs last year.
I get it. I just don't put him in an elite category at all.
Interesting.
I think eventually they have to pivot off of him to take the next step.
Okay, I disagree with you there. You're an idiot.
Okay. You might be right.
Hey, you want to talk some college football?
I do want to talk college
Before
football.
we get a chocolate explosion in our face?
Is Washington gonna let last week's game play any factor? And is Oregon gonna let Washington beat them twice? Also, USC, how do they respond?
We haven't talked USC Utah yet. How about Miami Clemson, the tight sphincter game down there in South Florida? You know, the last time, here's a fun question to ponder during the break. Last time Miami beat Clemson in Miami. Have fun looking up
in
that.
Miami?
Have fun looking up that answer. Been a long, long time. We'll get to some college football stuff next on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on the Fan.
The throw, pressure, but throws it way downfield. Franklin's there. Sidesteps one.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
On 1080 The Fan.
Welcome back in. 8:20 on a Friday morning. We'll spring line coming up 10 minutes. Get your fake sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. A really funny text came in. Let me find this from Cole. So I've been listening for 7 years.
Wow.
So today was the first time I've seen Spraguing the line spelled. And after 7 years of listening, I can't believe I thought it was Sprague in the line.
Sprague in the line?
So not like it's two different words. So Sprague in the line, not Spraguing or Sprague in the line, as in they're combined into one word.
How did he see it?
I don't know. Maybe somebody typed it into the YouTube chat or something, and that's how he saw it.
Gotcha.
He said, I guess we all have something stupid that we can claim. Well, we love you nonetheless because we're all idiots here, and so I don't blame you at all for that.
Buckle up. I'm gambling on Minnesota, Iowa.
Let's get to the big games in college football this weekend. We talked about Penn State, Ohio State earlier. I mentioned the stat. I'll give it to you now. The last time Miami beat Clemson in Miami, 1956. 1956. Now, to be fair, I think they've only had three. Like, this is one of those dumb ACC games where they don't play it's like they've only had 2 or 3 games at home against them since they joined the ACC.
What year did they join again? Like 06 or 07 or something?
Something like that. Dude, they have not played in Miami since 2000. It's been 8 years since they played in Miami, Clemson.
Imagine having
8 years.
So the equivalent to this would be like USC not going to Oregon for 8 years.
Yeah.
That's...
it has been a long time since USC came to Oregon, but part of that is because they were supposed to come in the COVID year.
Well, yeah,
and the COVID year was cut in blah, blah, blah.
Other than that, it's every 3 years, though, other than that. Like, it's so ridiculous what the SEC
so stupid
and other conferences can get away from. I do appreciate the Big Ten for that. I get this game every year. Penn State, Ohio State. Boom. Road, home. Michigan.
You won't anymore, I think, going forward because they're going to their mixed scheduling and there's no longer divisions.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to keep rivalries.
You're going to have one rivalry.
Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, all that stuff. USC, UCLA. But, yeah, for the most part, that is going to go away.
Miami, Clemson, that is a game I am genuinely excited for just because of the freak out that's going to happen. You're either going to have Miami lose their 3rd consecutive game. God, I went back and watched that game yesterday against North Carolina. It was like Keystone Cops, dude. They fumbled on the 1-yard line going into the end zone when it should have been 7-7. They had a short snap that got kicked around in the pocket that North Carolina fell on.
Yep.
Van Dyke threw a bad interception. You're like, how are you losing this game by 30 points at the or 20, whatever it was at the end of it? It was embarrassing.
Well, they hit that touchdown at the end of the first half, that long one, and you're like, damn, Miami came to play.
They're going to win this game. It's a 5 o'clock game on the ACC network, by the way. Clemson, Miami's on the ACC network.
I think that was at that point. If you have the box score up, I think that touchdown was 17-10 Miami.
That sounds right.
And they won 42-17.
Yeah.
You got outscored 32-0 the rest of the way.
Yeah, really bad, man.
But
Really
Van
bad.
Dyke also got hurt, and that's kind of my only retort to what you're saying is I'm excited for it because of the pressure of both coaches, but Van Dyke not being 100%. It plays a factor. We'll see what happens.
That's a bad football game that's going to be entertaining because Clemson's not great offensively and Miami's a turnover machine right now. So just have fun and look at the freak out of whoever loses that game because somebody will be panicking and wanting to fire their coach.
Big weekend for Drake May, though. That's a better opponent to beat and put stats against than Penix against ASU.
Yeah, that is very true. So you got Penix, who is taking on Arizona State, 7:30 game on FS1. This line has come down as the week has gone on. Open north of 4 touchdowns. It's now down to 26.5. Arizona State is not good, but they can throw wrinkles at you, and they're going to run a little wildcat, and they're going to, like, Arizona State comes into these games similar to the USC game where they have nothing to lose, and it's like, here's a reverse and a trick play, and here's this you haven't seen on film yet. Do we expect any sort of hangover from the Huskies on Saturday night?
Do you know the weather in Seattle?
57 and cloudy.
Yeah, I mean,
not raining.
Yeah, ASU though, Arizona schools in any kind of cloud and moist situations doesn't particularly play well. I don't remember who I picked for Pac-12 picks against the spread. I think I picked UW. I would actually kind of lean ASU right now. 23 point victory. Who gives a crap?
Just win the game.
Yeah, just get through the game. I think that's UW. UW's gonna win. They're going to exact the revenge they got last year from losing at ASU.
The revenge game.
But, man, when you play I said this on Monday, it's such an emotionally draining and physically draining game to play a game like they just played. You tell me it's a slow start, a weirdly close first half, maybe even a little tight and uncomfortable in the third. I won't be surprised. And then UW wins by 17-20. You got out of it.
You wake them up eventually.
Oregon has the same thing. Like if Oregon only wins by 16 or something, I'm not coming in Monday hammering them. That's a tough game to play immediately after what you just did.
No doubt. I think being at home helps. Being on the losing end, I think there's a little more juice there, right? There's a little more sense of urgency as opposed to winning the big game and being, you're putting your feet up and saying we won. You've been toasted all week, whereas the losing side usually is angry and pissed, and you got all those frustrations. And so we'll see if they take it out on Wazoo or if they have that same hangover effect. There's been rumblings in LA that UCLA should bench Dante Moore.
They should.
You think they should?
Well, I don't know if you can.
What's
put
the
that...
game plan there, though? Like, is this about this year, or are you playing for the future? Like, that's the conundrum that they're in, is it not?
Your defense is pretty stout. I would say you should always play for this year. This isn't the NBA. We're not trusting a process here. If you wanted to play Garbers or I don't know, put that Schlinsky kid or whatever his last name was. Schlee. You want to put Schlee back in there, run around and just do that? Like, he's fine as a true freshman. He's costing you games. Washington State, again, that they won that. Their defense won that game. He damn near threw the game away. They dominated the Cougars in that first half, and his pick six allowed Washington State to take the lead for a brief moment in that game. This is why I felt so confident about Oregon State. He is a true freshman. He's making all his throws and reads too obvious. And so, a five-star kid who probably got a decent deal to come to UCLA over Oregon, he's not winning them football games. What are you in the business of, winning or building for the future?
That's a tough part because I think they're kind of, and maybe this is too early. Maybe UCLA rattles off a bunch of wins in a row like we said they could last week. Like, their schedule is incredibly manageable. They're playing Stanford this weekend. They're going to win that game, or they should win that game. So maybe they find themselves back in the race, but I do also look at them as like, you're not in the same class as Washington. You're not in the same class as Oregon. You just lost to Oregon State, right? Like, you already have a couple of Pac-12 losses. So I see both angles of it where you have a chance to win 8 or 9 games this year potentially, and that's always a good year. But is it more important to have Dante Moore take his lumps and say, this guy is going to lead us to the promised land in the next 2 to 3 years. We just need him to learn and grow and develop, which he's going to do more playing than he is on the sideline.
UCLA is ultimately going to do what they've done basically every year of Chip's career there. They're going to be like the 4th or 5th best team in the conference.
8 or 9 win team, loses a couple close ones.
Yeah, this is why I feel how I feel about Chip. I think he's a good offensive mind. He runs a good program, but I don't think he's elite. And this kind of, no matter if it's a freshman quarterback or one you had for 5 straight years as your starter, you kind of always end up in the same spot. And if you want to argue about one win versus another, we had 9 last year, not 8. Like, okay, but you're not better than Washington. You're not better than Oregon. You're not better than Oregon State. And we'll have to wait and see at the end if you're better than even USC.
Mm-hmm.
And we know you're not better than Utah, even though Utah doesn't have a quarterback. So
right.
If you're not better than USC by the end of the year, you're what? You're the 6th best team. You're exactly in the middle of the conference. That's not going to change, by the way, when they go to the Big Ten.
No, it is not. Utah, USC, the other game in the conference, 5 o'clock on Fox tomorrow. We'll see if USC can bounce back. I'm sure we'll be talking about that one either way on Monday because there will be a panic in Los Angeles if they find a way to lose back-to-back games. They're trying to cling to the we have not lost a Pac-12 game yet narrative. Let's get to Sprague in the line. Your fake sponsors are welcome at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. We'll do some gambling, and we're going to have a chocolate explosion in our face as we do the gambling. That is next. First, here's Swag with SportsCenter.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Enjoy some Kahlua Pig, cherry chicken, even an island cocktail at Burnside Woodstock, or order online at ate-oh-ate.com. First on the Fan, number 9, Oregon, trying to bounce back from the loss to Washington a week ago. They get the Washington State Cougars in Autzen Stadium after the Cougs were taken behind the woodshed by Arizona. It is a 12:30 kick right here on the Fan. Our live pregame coverage from Eugene begins at 8 a.m. Ducks 20.5-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. From the NFL, Raiders ruling out quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo this Sunday. He's dealing with a back injury as they take on the Bears. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, quarterback Deshaun Watson did throw at practice Thursday for the first time in a couple of weeks, dealing with a rotator cuff issue. He will be a game-time decision Sunday in Indianapolis against the Colts. A walk-off RBI single from Ketel Marte gave the Diamondbacks their first win in the NLCS, 2-1. Former Hillsboro Hop Brandon Pfaadt, 4 relievers, holding the Phillies to just 3 hits. Game 4 coming up this evening on 910 ESPN Portland. First pitch at 5:07. It'll be preceded at 2:07 by Game 5 of the ALCS in Arlington. Houston has evened things up with a 10-3 win over the Rangers in Game 4. Justin Verlander opposite Jordan Montgomery on the mound. Pre-game coverage will start at 1:30 over on 910. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sports book powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
On 1080 The Fan.
Sprague the lie.
Sprague the lie.
Sprague the lie.
Sprague the lie.
Sprague the lie brought to you by Dirt. I don't know how to eat a cupcake. Damn right I don't. Sprague the lie brought to you by Swag. Just like Sprague's picks, I got nothing.
When was your first realization in your youth when you went, I don't like cupcakes, but I can't share this?
It was pretty early on, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
You're like 7, and you're like, this sucks.
The wife's into cupcakes, too. She's a big cupcake person.
I mean, I would say, who do you think drives the cupcake business, men or women?
Yeah. I think we know the answer to
Just
that.
saying.
That would be kids.
Kids, yeah. Kids.
But who's
drive
making the
the
decision for the kids?
For the kids.
Right?
It's the one, yeah. It's,
no dishes. You
like,
just need
dude,
napkins for cupcakes.
For those who are on YouTube, like,
Massive.
look at this cupcake.
There's your chocolate explosion.
This is proving my entire point. If I'm eating something like this, which looks delicious and I bet it tastes fantastic, just give me a piece of cake so I can eat it with a fork. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
But you can't eat a cupcake with a fork. Everyone will question your manhood.
You're also famous for eating candy bars with forks.
Sprague and Lie brought to you by Neil O'Shea. Sprague needs to hire him to help him implement the Mason Plumlee model for his gambling picks. I can't get over how creepy that is. Sprague and Lie brought to you by Andy Reid's daily workouts. Still clearly longer than the amount of time Sprague spends researching his picks.
I'm really happy, by the way, that Andy Reid is cashing in on the Mahomes train.
Hell
and he's
yeah,
in every
yeah.
commercial now.
Give me those
Stealing
nuggies
nuggies.
with his little fingers. Dude, hell yeah, Andy Reid. Sprague and Lie brought to you by Dirt eating a cupcake with chopsticks because that's more realistic and entertaining than Sprague losing a pick.
Wow.
Sprague and Lie brought to you by Cupcakes. They're good at the beginning, but damn, are they messy when they're done. Amen to that, brother.
All right, here we go.
All right, you go ahead. You want me to go first and show
Well,
you?
Dirt, you recap last week in the standings while Sprague.
I will go through this.
Sprague first dives into the chocolate explosion.
You can't even open the thing without it getting messy.
Well, it's a little
You
gooey.
already needed an
It's
extra
a little
paper
gooey.
towel.
Now, I don't know if that's, so there's a chocolate, like a dipped cone. There's like a hard chocolate shell, and then there's white underneath. I don't know what that is.
It looks like a marshmallow.
There's a lot going on
It
there.
feels more marshmallowy than frosty.
All right, well, if you're on YouTube, you can.
here
We
we
just
go.
tweeted out the link if you want to watch it.
So
you can
here's
rewind.
the bite that you claim is impossible.
You can't take just a bite of frosting, and you can't take just a bite of the cupcake. That's cheating. It's stupid. Nobody wants to do that. You have to take a bite into the cupcake.
That kind of wasn't the conversation.
That was the whole
You said you didn't know
conversation.
how to eat a cupcake, and then we gave you tips and
I mean,
advice.
what are you just going to eat the cake part? What are you, a loser over there?
I'll play your dumb game.
Play my game. Play my game.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Let's see this bite. I think you're. Yeah, that's a good angle right there. That's a good angle right on.
Nicely done. That was nicely done.
You know, largely not that bad.
Yeah.
I really hope somebody screen grabs that opening of the mouth. That got wide, dude. You were like an anaconda there for a moment. That was impressive.
Don't want none unless you got buns on.
That's right.
Pretty good. How's my face?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
Okay.
I'm a little disappointed in the size of the bite there. It's kind of a wimpy little bite, something like a 4-year-old, but that's all right.
A wimpy
and
little.
you're squishing it together. It's falling
No,
apart
it's
slowly
do-
but surely.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, it's squishing. You're squishing the.
So wait a minute.
you're
I couldn't
squishing
do
the
it a
cheeks
second
over there.
ago, and now I did. And he's like, "Well, I don't know about that cupcake."
Here's how we did last week. I was 3-0, won the weekend,
Hey.
bitches. You guys both went 2-1. I hit on the Commanders, the Jags, and the Ravens. Sprague, you hit on the Lions, the under in the Saints and Texans game.
Hell yeah, brother.
And then miss on the 49ers. Swag, you hit on Notre Dame against USC and the Rams -7 against the Cardinals. You missed on the Bengals and Seahawks over of 45. So season standings now, I'm 14-7 after this past weekend. Swag, you are 8-13, and Sprague is 7-14. That's where we're at. So I will go ahead and make my first pick and then start eating a cupcake and see how this goes.
It's the best cupcake.
It's the best one of the bunch?
Yeah, it's not too moist. The chocolate inside is delicious. I'm not going to feel very good after I eat it, though.
I'm a little uncomfortable with how many times the word moist has been said on this show today, but, I digress. I'm going to start. I'm going out on a limb this week. Sometimes you're feeling good. You feel like you're on the golf course. You can execute a shot that you normally can't execute.
Driver off the deck on
Right,
the par 5.
but I'm coming off a couple of birdies here. Like I'm feeling good. The moods are. I know this is all going to backfire on me, but what the hell? Let's ride the heater. I'm gambling on the Los Angeles Chargers this weekend. When they play the Chiefs, it just seems to be a close
Yes.
game. I don't know what it is between these two. One of the games last year was a field goal. The only time the Chiefs in the last couple of years have beaten them by a wider margin was when they won an overtime game with a walk-off touchdown, and they won by 6. These tend to be close games. Last year was a field goal game in Kansas City. So what the hell? You're giving me 5.5. I feel like this is a little overreactionary to Monday night, and I'm going to take the Chargers plus the 5.5 at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Me?
Yeah, you won.
I'll
you're
start
ahead of
in
me.
college football. Nobody loves being the red ass and the underdog and the persecuted like Jim Harbaugh, and Michigan State stinks.
Yeah, they do.
I will lay the 24.5 on the road.
Are you writing these down, by the way?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I'm writing them down. I already got all my picks
Dude,
down.
this thing legitimately weighs like 5 pounds.
Well, I have something to tell you at the end of this segment. But
Okay.
let's just get through the gambling picks, and I will concede something as long as you can concede something.
Okay, you want me to take a bite now? I'm going to take a bite.
Yeah,
now.
go- I want to see
Okay.
you take a bite. Actually, I'm
Hopefully I'm in the
curious
camera
about this. This is
There you go.
shot. I wasn't even that good of a bite.
what a sissy bite.
That's all I can handle.
But you got nothing on your face.
It feels like I got a lot of stuff on my face. I got nothing on my face.
Nope, you're clean.
I feel like I got stuff all over
He's
my face.
clean. He's clean. I'm going to start in the NFL. I'm going to go with a favorite at home that's a little alarming with a point spread, but I actually think they're going to end up blowing this team out. This team has come down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, it's all over.
And
It's an absolute mess.
let that wiping sound also be in the drop. I'm going to take the Seahawks at home against the Arizona Cardinals minus the 7.5.
Ooh, okay.
I think Arizona sucks. I think they finally come to realize that it's not been a good couple weeks for them.
Yeah.
And Seattle's coming off of a game where they didn't feel like they played very well. This is a home game in Seattle. I think this is a get-right week. I think the Seahawks end up winning this game by 14. I'll take the Seahawks. I like that value, 7.5.
All right, we got to speed it up a little bit here, so shorter descriptions.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to fade the same team I faded last week. I think Desmond Ridder sucks, and I think Atlanta's losing games because of that. They're 0-3 with him on the road. They're going on the road to Tampa this weekend. Bounce back spot for the Bucs, who are better defensively.
Yep.
I'm taking the Bucs minus the 2.5 at home against Atlanta.
There you go.
I'm going to ride the Rams again. I think their offense, now that it's as healthy as it's gotten, is pretty productive. Pittsburgh stinks. They're just bad.
Not good. Donald's never
score.
beaten the Steelers. Fun fact.
Well, and you got that. So I'll take the Rams -3.
-3, yeah.
Yeah.
At home, right? It's in
Yeah.
LA, too.
Is
Yeah.
that all it is a -3?
That's what I've seen all week. Yeah, field goal line.
My final pick, or not my final pick.
Second pick.
My second pick. I'm going to college football. I'm sorry. I think the coaches want this to happen. Count the punts in Minnesota, Iowa. Give me the under of 31. Who's scoring? Backup quarterback at Iowa. Minnesota's offense is not good. I'm sorry. Final score 17-10. Cool. We still hit the under. I'll take the under in Minnesota, Iowa.
Okay, I like that pick. That's probably going to hit. Last one for me, I'm going to continue riding a heater in the NFL. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. They are going on the road to play the Giants. This is a fishing line. I'm taking the bait. What the hell? Let's sniff the fish together. -2.5 in New York. The Giants suck. Their offense is terrible. They can't score touchdowns.
That's bad fish.
Let's smell that fish. Commanders -2.5 on the road against the Giants.
All right, Sprague, don't hate me. The Vikings are absolutely god-awful. I don't care if McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel don't play.
Oh.
I will take the 49ers laying 6.5.
I don't hate you for that. I think it's a good get-right game. And did you watch Minnesota beat Chicago? Because it wasn't like it was beautiful.
Wasn't that pretty? What was your first pick again, Swag? So I can type it down real quick.
Michigan -24.5.
And you said commies at 3 or 2.5?
2.5.
Okay, all right. My final pick, I'm going to the NFL. I love to see if you and I are going to go against each other on actual Sunday. I like the Eagles getting 2.5 at home. Or laying the 2.5, at home. It's sub-field goal game. I think this is going to be a close one. Yes, the secondary concerns me of Philly. I think the pass rush can get to Tua and make things a little uncomfortable. And I also think the Philly offense is going to play much better. That Dolphin defense isn't very good. Ramsey's not back yet. I don't know why you're laughing. Eagles -2.5. And one little fun nugget for those that are going to gamble on Bills Patriots.
Oh, a nuggie.
Do you know this is my gambling producer sent me this. This is the Belichick's first time as a home dog by more than 7 points since Tom Brady's first start.
That's a banana stat.
2001. Biggest point spread he's ever faced at home.
It's not going well for Bill.
Fade the Patriots would be my side note, but I'll take the Eagles -2.5.
That is a banana stat right there. All right, here we go. Quickly, records again. I'm 14-7. Swag is 8-13. Sprague is 7-14. Here's who we're on. I'm on the Chargers +5.5 against the Chiefs. The Bucks -2.5 against the Falcons. The Commanders -2.5 against the Giants. Sprague is on the Seahawks -7.5 against Arizona. The Iowa-Minnesota under of 31. The Eagles -2.5 on Sunday night against the Dolphins. Swag is on the Rams -3 against the Steelers. The 49ers -6.5 against the Vikings. And Michigan laying the wood against Michigan State -24.5.
Here's my concession.
What do you got?
I'm with you. Cupcake is not my dessert of choice.
It's a problem.
I will admit, when this happens and it crumbles, it gets a little messy on the hands. But can we also admit that we can take bites of cupcakes?
I had it all over my face.
No, you didn't.
It was a problem. People are also shiting Jason Swigard. They want to check the tape and rewind on YouTube that you took a bite of the butt. You just went butt only on your first bite.
Went butt only?
You're just eating the butt.
I went side.
Ass man.
He's an ass man. You went side. You can't go to the side. That defeats the whole purpose.
What kind of strategy
what
is
are we
that?
doing
I
here?
had a different cupcake than you, so.
Swag's just eating it from the bottom.
Oh, they're being racist.
All right. Shout out to our YouTube bros
I
who
don't know
enjoyed
what
that
the
scene.
show was, but I'm really full. I don't feel good.
I don't feel good at all.
Oh, I'm hurting.
I got to stick around and tape an interview at 9:15 today. My stomach's rumbling. I got sugar bombs going
Well,
off.
Rust
left and
is
right.
here. I got a bonus cupcake.
Oh, Russ is going to eat the
Russ
bonus
is
cupcake.
going to devour that.
Wow,
I mean,
you guys
come
just
on.
throwing Rust into the fat train, man. Jeez. What if he doesn't like cupcakes?
Really?
Yeah, nobody believes
Yeah,
it.
nobody believes that. All right, let's wrap it up on a Friday next on The Fan.
It's The Fan on demand.
I'm going to give it to you. Give it to me.
Service Patriots brings you fan podcasts on pace for 2.5 million listens and downloads in 2023.
Oh my God, that is impressive.
Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. Service Patriots podcasts on 1080.
It's hot. I need milk.
The Fan.
At Spirit Mountain Casino, exhilaration finds you at every turn, and big-time winning reaches all new heights. Excitement brings the heat. Comfort sweeps you off your feet. The action, you guessed it, can't be beat. It's Oregon's premier destination, made for players who love the game, made for players just like you. So, are you ready to elevate your game? Spirit Mountain Casino.
Swag back with you from my friends at Les Schwab Tires. You see the raindrops on the windshield, the chill in the air. Winter is on its way, and Les Schwab is ready with the tire services, helpful advice you need to safely navigate the rain, snow, slush, ice, whatever else Mother Nature is about to throw at us. And right now, during the fall tire sale, you can save up to $250 when you buy a set of 4 select tires. Schedule your appointment at leschwab.com or stop by any location. That's Les Schwab, where they've been doing the right thing since 1952.
So, what are you reading?
I'm checking out the ratings on the new TVs, and it looks like Samsung, LG, and Sony got the best scores.
Just like last year. What about those new high dynamic range TVs?
They got the highest scores of all, but their prices are really high.
Did you check online?
Yeah, their prices were about the same.
Well, there's one place where we can get a hot deal on those top rated models.
Where?
At Video Only. Check out the ratings on TV stores.
I see. Video Only scored better than the others.
So, if you want the best deal on the best TVs,
then we should take our TV ratings and head over to Top Rated Video Only.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Jansen Beach, Clackamas, Beaverton, Salem, and Eugene, Video Only.
Hey everyone, this is Richard Deitch, and I host the sports media, the Richard Deitch Podcast. What can you expect from this podcast? Well, each week I'll have interviews and in-depth conversations with the people who bring you the sports you love, as well as roundtables with sports media reporters about television, digital, audio, radio, print, and other forms of media. If you are interested in sports broadcasting and how you watch, listen, and read about the games you love, listen on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Everybody's choosy about something. It might be your favorite snack.
2 scoops of Rocky Road, please.
Your style.
Those earrings look amazing on you.
Or the things you like to do with your best friend.
edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
On 1080 The Fan.
There you go, fist pumping your way into the weekend every single Friday. We had shout out to one of our P1s who took a screen grab of Sprague's bite into the cupcake.
Oh, nice.
And that has been tweeted out. Comment on the YouTube feed saying Sprague is now eating that cupcake from every direction but normal now, attacking it like a chicken feet on the floor.
Whoa. I took a regular bite to start, and then it kind of came apart.
I think it was the whole, your camera was on the zoomed-in camera the entire commercial break, and so I think people were just watching you eat the rest. I have not tried to eat the rest of my cupcake yet. You finished your entire thing.
Well, I have a theory. Don't wait if you're already full. Just get it done.
Just get it done.
And then hurt in totality. Don't allow the hurt to keep going, you know?
You're saying Swag Cam just munching on the cupcake is something that we need every day now. You just see the happiness in his eyes. Fat Swag revealed for a few moments during a Friday. We got some poll questions we'll answer. A big weekend in sports, man. I'm hoping that baseball does enough to keep me around. We'll see how the games go today. We get both again today, right?
Yeah, doubleheader, 1:30 pregame, 2:07. They flip order today.
That's
so
right.
The ALCS, because they got to, well, it's not like it's a long road trip to Houston, but yeah, they got to get out of Dodge.
I just saw the screenshot.
It's a great screenshot. You got wide on that thing, dude. You dislocated your jaw
that
over there.
jaw unhinged.
It
was like, we're getting in there.
I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. So that's game 5, and then you get Phillies and Diamondbacks game 4. We'll see if Arizona wins. You got yourself a series there. Philly wins again. You're like, all right, we're going back to Philly. That thing's over. Rangers and Astros, though, a lot of interest in that game 5. So excited for that. And then we get, Oregon State's off this weekend, so you guys just get to sit at home and watch the carnage that happens around the Pac-12.
Undefeated this weekend.
It's another big weekend. We had a Husky P1 who chimed in earlier. Man, am I glad that Arizona State's not much of a threat this year, because this seems like the ultimate letdown game. They're coming off a bye, emotional win. Thank God it's at home, and Arizona State's not very good. And then Oregon plays a Washington State team who I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. They're not as bad as they showed last weekend. Maybe they're not as good as they played against Oregon State or Wisconsin earlier this year, probably somewhere in between. But I'm excited to see how Oregon responds after such an emotional loss. It's going to be a really fun weekend of football.
Yeah, the read I get, Husky fan, obviously I think has less to worry about. ASU's not a very good team. They're banged up.
No.
It's say we're going to do a double reverse flea flicker or something and hope to get a touchdown. My general read is like not that Oregon doesn't think Washington State can play football, but I think there's a real confidence in Eugene right now with Duck fan just thinking, Washington State has given us problems in the past. Maybe not the case this year. So we'll see what happens in that game. I tend to believe Oregon's going to win comfortably, but college football is just
weird, man.
Stupid sometimes.
Colorado blew a 29-point halftime lead to Stanford last Friday.
I still can't believe that happened.
That's how our weekend began. I am it's also a little sentimental. The sentimentals are being felt. I don't know when the next time Oregon's going to play Washington State is.
Oh, I didn't even think about that angle. Probably never.
Probably never.
Not unless they get picked up by a conference.
Isn't that sad? I mean, it's just a sad note on this weekend of like, God, it's a game every year. You play Washington State every year in Pullman or in Eugene. And so another reminder. The uniforms will be sweet, though. Looking forward to that. Pregame will start at pregame will start at 8 a.m. tomorrow, live in Eugene. That will do it for us. Swag, thanks for bringing in the cupcakes.
I hope you enjoyed them.
The Cupcake Fairy. The bathroom's going to enjoy what I do to it as soon as this show is over.
It's getting its own cupcake.
It's gonna get a chocolate.
Do toilets look at it that way?
All right, that'll do it for us. If you missed any of the show, go check the Service Patriots podcast. The show will be up on YouTube all day as well, so you can go catch it there. We'll tweet it out. All of it as soon as we're done at Dirt and Sprague and at 1080 The Fan. Thanks so much for being a part of our Friday, everybody. We'll talk to you Monday at 6 a.m. Calling us next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
What did the piece of wood say when it had nothing to do? I'm bored. Yes. Don't settle